Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Rose Street, RoseStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with your Week 14 sit-start show, essentially an extension of the playoffs here. One more week until the most wonderful time of the year, the fantasy football playoffs. But for many of us, this is a do-or-die time. We must get this win in or else we are out, or we want to secure that bye week. We just don't want to get last place. Whatever your motivation is, Wolfpack, we have all the stakes at the world for this 2025 season. I cannot believe we are already here and the season is nearly over, but we got to get it right. And there is a ton of news to cover. Not a ton, I shouldn't say a ton, but some impactful news to cover. We'll hit those Thursday night football takeaways as well. But as always, nearly 2 hours dedicated to just your sit starts. We want to make sure to get as many questions, if not all of them, answered as possible. So thank you again so much for spending your Sunday morning here with me. Before we dive into that news and the Thursday night football takeaways, as always, if you super chat, and my man Robbie, $20 super chat, you are so kind and generous, sir. Each and every week you come in here, you toss me some money before the show even starts. It is so greatly appreciated. You are an absolute legend, Robbie. Thank you so much. But any super chat of any kind, it's always so appreciated. I mean, $20 is just insane. And you're an absolute legend, Robbie. So thank you again so much for your generous support. But if you do super chat, you get to cut the line, you skip the news, whatever it might be. If you got to get in and out or you want to just make sure you get an answer, a super chat is the way to do it. You guys have been so kind and generous all season with those. So thank you once again. And I know, Rob, you've done this nearly every show. You're the man. Thank you so much for that. Let's make sure we get this one right. We got morning, Myers or Adonai Mitchell for the flex. Adonai Mitchell starting Strange at tight end. Could it be that double tight end Myers Strange season? Michael Myers, Halloween. Should we get that stack here, the Myers Strange stack? Because we do already have some Jags investment there with Brent Strange. And I love Brent Strange today. I think he's a must-play, top five-ish tight end. So I agree Brent Strange has to be in that lineup. You have Hampton still on my IR. Which of these guys would you start in my flex? My opponent has Trevor Lawrence starting full PPR. Ooh, tough question. And then you ultimately, great context there added, Robbie. If you're facing Trevor Lawrence and then you start Myers and Strange, you're really limiting how much damage this guy can do to you. Granted, maybe BTJ finally has his breakout game, goes 180 and a touchdown, and Lawrence has 2 rushing touchdowns. There's certainly ways that Trevor Lawrence can get there without bringing Strange and Jacoby Myers along for the ride. But Myers really has taken over that role as the clear number one receiver, in my opinion. His style of play definitely meshes with Lawrence, who locks onto his first read, gets happy feet in the pocket, can't let those longer developing routes go for Brian Thomas Jr., like we saw with Mac Jones last year when he absolutely erupted, which is a huge disappointment. It's been brutal, absolute bust season. But Jacoby Myers, those quick hits, those slot rates, just get locked in, get open for Trevor Lawrence, be an option right away. We see that happen time and time again. So he is my wide receiver 29, and I'm also minus 5 ECR. So I'm not super high on the guy, but top 30 wide receiver. And ultimately, in full PPR, he has been rock solid as well. 6 targets in 4 of his last 5 games. Ultimately, a touchdown in back-to-back games, 15. So his last 3, 11, 15, and 21 points. Wide receiver 22, 20, and 11. He's worked perfectly for Trevor Lawrence. So in full PPR, it's very tough for me to bench Jacoby Myers. I do have him above Adonai Mitchell. I will admit Hampton's very, very tempting in that IR spot. I almost want to say just toss him in there. You got a defense there with the Eagles. No Jalen Carter, knocked out for at least the next couple games after undergoing shoulder surgery, and they already were giving up the 8th most points to running backs on the season. So ultimately, he's very tempting, but there is that risk of, is there a ramp-up period? Kamani Vidal, they've been shouting him out all week, how he's played like a true number one back and won't just disappear. So to me, if I had this question staring me in the face, Robbie, I'd probably double up my Jags, go Myers, go Strange. It's a huge divisional matchup. But the only other thing you have to consider there, Robbie, is there is some decent rain. The quote is, it might pour all game in Jacksonville, pregame and postgame. We'll double check the radar pregame to make sure the rain is setting up where models are showing it setting up. But I expect a sloppy game in Jacksonville was what Ken Roth tweeted out. So then part of me is like, do you want that much investment in this game if it's a complete deluge? Just an absolute slop fest. Because, yes, wind is definitely more impactful where you're impacting the trajectory of the ball. But rain, especially an absolute downpour, can be very concerning for these games as well. So, yes, I like Myers. And he seems like the type of receiver that in a wet, sloppy game can still get it going. Quick hits, in fact, that might even favor him because the defense doesn't know he's going to slipping and sliding all over the place. Double tapping that game, though, could be, maybe T-Law just impacted by that weather, and you get the double bonus of not only am I not invested in it because I benched Myers. I do like Myers more than Adonai Mitchell. I'll tell you this. It comes down to me, Myers versus Hampton. It's very tight, Robbie. This is a really tough one. I think with those weather concerns, I might just pivot to Hampton. I do think, with Herbert banged up, they're going to want to run the ball a ton more. This is a defense you can attack on the ground, especially when Jalen Carter is out. If this is a matter of Myers versus Hampton, I'd go Hampton. If not, if you have to pick one of the two receivers, I would go with Myers and just load up. You limit what Trevor Lawrence can do. I am worried about the weather, but again, Jacoby Myers, that might impact Brian Thomas more. He already sucks, but getting deep in this type of weather, most likely not happening. So ultimately, with this one, I'll go Jacoby Myers and Strange if it has to be a receiver. But honestly, Robbie, I personally, if I was staring at the decision, I would pivot to Hampton and toss him in my flex for Monday Night Football. Full PPR does also narrow that gap because Myers benefits from those catch points. I'm going to go Hampton if that's an option here. And if not, if it has to be one of the receivers, then give me Jacoby Myers over Adonai Mitchell. Very intrigued by Mitchell, and this gives us a good opportunity to talk about the guy. The Jets, apparently, when they traded for Adonai Mitchell, and of course those 2 first rounds with Sauce, they weren't going to do it without Adonai Mitchell. They really coveted him. They really wanted him, and they've given him like a true number 1 wide receiver type of workload, 25%, 27%, and 37% target share. And in particular of note, last week, coming from Tyrod Taylor, in his first start, he racks up 24 fantasy points in full PPR. I was at 800 and a touchdown. Unbelievable 12-target day for Adonai Mitchell. So, yes, very intriguing here. Totally understand. Miami is a bottom 5 matchup for wide receivers, though. And it just like as soon as you trust him, I'm a little hesitant. And maybe I'm being scared here on Adonai Mitchell, AD Mitchell, because he's always just destroyed the open score and whatever type of metric you want to look at, like average separation. If you look at fantasy points, if you look at open score by advanced metrics, NFL Next Gen Stats, like Adonai Mitchell gets open at one of the highest rates in the league. He is elite at creating space. He's not elite at catching the ball. He has struggled with drops throughout his career. Look no further than that 6-target, 1-catch, 10-yard game against the Pats, where he dropped like a surefire touchdown. But again, with Tyrod Taylor throwing better balls, leading him better, I do think last week's signal, the 12-target, 8-catch, 102-yard, and 1 touchdown day, that's a little more signal to me. Man, this is tough. Like with that weather. So I'm going back and forth, Robbie. I know it. And that's why I love this show, because you guys help me really figure out, like, how do I feel about these guys? The weather is making me nervous about Jacoby. AD Mitchell with Tyrod Taylor looked really, really good. In terms of points against, I'm going to stick with Myers. No Sauce Gardner today for the Colts as well. For a defense that has been a top 10 matchup versus a Miami team that is 24th in points allowed. So a bottom 7 matchup for wide receivers. I'm going to go Myers if it has to be a receiver, Robbie, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say I'm sticking with Hampton in the flex there. Ron Smith, thank you so much for your generous, and thank you again, Robbie. I just want to say again, you've been so kind, so generous all season. I really hope you crush it. You get this one right. Best of luck, Robbie. Thank you again for your support throughout this year. Ron Smith, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Winning in. Love it. You control your destiny. We got to get it right for you. Please rank the following: Jalen Warren, ETN, Scary Terry, and Devin Neal. Thanks and good luck to the pack. Ooh, good question here. I would say I probably have Jalen Warren the highest of the bunch. But Baltimore, they've really stiffened up as a defense. There was a time just 6 weeks ago where it was number 1 in points allowed to backs, number 2 in receivers. And since they welcomed back Roquan Smith, they've gotten some huge reinforcements back and made this a much tougher matchup. I was definitely higher on Etienne entering the day, but this weather looks gross. The Colts run D is already one of the higher end units. So to me, I like Scary Terry the most. You got Jaden Daniels back. They've barely had any time, but he walked right into 14 targets last week. I get it. Minnesota has been elite at limiting wide receivers. I saw something. I think they haven't let up a wide receiver touchdown in like 4 straight weeks. So, I mean, Jay Flowers had 10 points, but it was on catches. Then Rome Odunze 5 and Burden only 4. Christian Watson 7. He's been lighting teams up. Jackson Smith and Nashigba just 3. So this has been a very tough matchup for wide receivers, which does make me a little bit hesitant on Scary Terry. But we also did see A.J. Brown erupt for 26, Devonta Smith for 28. Against these mobile quarterbacks, when they can get in the pocket and move around the blitz, if they dodge that blitz, there are some big plays to be had down the field. So it really depends on the style of offense. We saw J-Mo and Amon-Ra both go for 14 on week 9. DK Metcalf had 21. So these big-bodied wide receivers have given them a little bit of trouble, especially when they have a quarterback that's escapable. I know Goff and Aaron Rodgers the opposite of escapable, but those two big games, again, coming from the Eagles guys, is what I look more at, because we saw Jalen Hurts dodge a blitz, and then those guys were wide open downfield. We'll see. It is a tricky matchup, but I would probably rank it Scary Terry first. I think I'd go Jalen Warren second with this weather. For Travis Etienne, that's a very, very tough call in terms of those two running backs. I will say Devin Neal's, Tampa Bay, Jamal Dean back, and just the D-line is ferocious. I don't think the Saints are going to do a thing today. So I will say Devin Neal's like a clear distant third here, and the other guys are where it's very tough to sift through for me. Ron Smith. I think, maybe that weather does end up favoring Etienne. You lean into the run game on a day like this. Tough matchup. I want to see how the Ravens, which again was one of the best matchups to start the year. I feel like lately they have been a brutal spot though for running backs. Let me see here. Jordan Mason. So, they've been okay. Chase Brown had 14, 11. Aaron Jones 14, Achane 13, Swift 14. So they've given up 11 or more points to all but one back in the last 5 weeks. Kyron 15, so you date that back 5 or 6 weeks here. They've given up 14 points. So I think Jalen Warren can get there. Kenny Gainwell's obviously been a little bit involved. I'm going to you guys are starting me off. I feel bad I'm taking so long on these first early super chats, but you guys have me in a blender here to begin the show. I think I would rank this against Scary Terry, fully acknowledging that they have been elite at erasing wide receivers lately. But I just think there's something about Jaden Daniels getting back, 14 targets last week for Scary Terry. He eludes one tackle, uncorks one. Terry looked great, too. I want to see him look fully healthy. First time I've seen it all year. So I'm going to go Scary Terry, Etienne very slightly over Jalen Warren here. And then Warren and Devin Neal, a distant third. Best of luck here, Ron. I hope you get in. Keep me posted how it goes. Hit me up at Roto Street Wolf. Say this is Ron from the show. And let me know in the DMs or wherever. I'd love to just know how everything pans out for you, Ron. Thank you so much. Luis Perez, thank you so much for the super chat as well. We got one receiver, one flex between Monungai, Charbs, Franklin, Burden, Fannin, and Waller. In terms of the wide receiver, I like Burden more than Franklin. We just had Pat Bryant run more routes and see more targets than Franklin. And we get it that Sean Payton, any given week, somebody could pop up. The next week, it's kind of a whack-a-mole situation. Even Cortland Sutton, who used to be the safest receiver on the team, has been so boom or bust this year. So I can't just sit here and definitively say Pat Bryant has taken over Troy Franklin. But we did have him get compared to Michael Thomas by Sean Payton earlier in this preseason. And either way, just that type of whimsical nature where Franklin's had a really good season, and yet in a blink of an eye, suddenly Pat Bryant's running more routes and seeing more targets. That shows you the risk of Troy Franklin. So to me, give me Luther Burden. Tougher matchup, sure, against Green Bay, but no Rome Odunze. We haven't seen this level of route sharing involvement that I anticipate for Burden today. Of course, cue up Olamide Zaccheaus. It's 35% target share, 15 looks go his way. Burden only has 3 targets. It could happen. It's certainly a risk, but I am a huge Burden fan. I love the talent. He's so electric with the ball in his hands. It just feels right to me. So I'm going to go Burden for that wide receiver. And then for the flex, it's not going to be Franklin. I'll tell you that. We only need one receiver, and I'm going to keep that to this decision. I think I'm leaning Monangai. I mean, we've seen this guy balling out. Green Bay, again, a tough matchup. So are we overloading this defense right now? Perhaps. Going 2 Bears doesn't necessarily feel right. But, man, like Monangai has just been insane. 22 carries, 130 yards, and a touchdown. He's got a touchdown now in 4 straight games. So, at minimum, you have that kind of baked-in floor with the David Montgomery-style role for Ben Johnson, where he is just a touchdown machine. Again, 4 straight games with a touchdown for Kyle Monangai. I'm going to probably ride that one out. Charbs, it's a very similar bet, right? You're looking at the secondary option that's mostly a touchdown or bust type of play. Whereas though Monangai has that upside, like if he gets that hot hand, he could see 20 carries. And whereas Charbonnet, it's like he gets the touchdown, he gets me to 10. That's fine. It's serviceable. It's a good running back 2 or flex day. Don't get me wrong. But the ceiling feels very capped without a Walker injury. Walker has seen 60% or more snaps in 4 straight weeks. Charbonnet really has become just like a goal line hammer, occasional short yardage guy, and that's about it. Whereas Monangai does have the legs of, he's got some great legs, but he does have the out of, if he ends up getting that hot hand over DeAndre Swift, he could end up getting 15, 20 carries and just running with this one. That's going to be tough to do against the Green Bay defense, don't get me wrong. Waller also, we shouldn't discount the fact that the Jets ranked 30th in terms of touchdowns allowed to the tight end position, which is something Waller has really thrived at. I love his touchdown props today. But if I was looking at this one, I would go Monangai and Burden Lewis. I would double up on my Bears, which I know makes it risky, but that's what I would lean into. Mr. Fella, and thank you so much, Lewis. Thank you so much, Anthony, for your super chat. Sutton or Franklin rest of season? I do think it's Sutton, even amidst this Pat Bryant storm, Mr. Fella. We did see Sutton run his typical route share, still leading the team in routes, and ultimately came back with a touchdown last week, which was nice to see. It's Franklin who's had that more volatile, like 1 week he's the main guy, the next week he's running less routes than Pat Bryant. I'd like to see how it sifts out and see if that's a sticky trend here, and if Franklin has taken a backseat to Pat Bryant before I go too nuts. It's a 1 week sample, so again, we understand very whimsical nature with his coach here. But ultimately, Sutton feels like at least you're going to always have him, whether he's the 1 or 2, he's going to always be locked into that lineup. So I would say Sutton rest of season for me, Mr. Fella. Tough schedule, though, for the boys, like for the Broncos moving forward. So you got to consider that, like, do you need either of them? But if I had to pick one, it would be Sutton. Jimbo Fisher. What's up, Jimbo? Pick 1, Ty Johnson, R. Davis, Carter, Keaton Mitchell. We are in dire straits, it would sound like, Jimbo. So if I'm going to this level here this week, first thing I will toss out there, is Samaje Perine available? Only 5% rostered. If you're swimming in these weeds, maybe not. Carter on paper seems like the best bet for like guaranteed work today, but you're facing a Rams defense, 3rd fewest points to running backs. And the Cardinals just show no interest in running the ball. So maybe you get a few dump offs. That's what's really worked for Carter these last couple of weeks. I don't want to go there because if I'm in these type of weeds, Jimbo, here's where I was going with Perine. And if not, Ray Davis would be my answer. And here's why. When you're this down bad at running back, and I'm not coming here from a judgmental position. My running back 2 is atrocious in my main league. I thankfully earned the bye. I got by with like Tucker and then Vidal, and I've been just kind of patchworking it since Dobbins went out. So I understand this, Jimbo. I'm in the weeds too. So this is not me coming from a judgmental place. This is how I personally am attacking it in my league, where I'm in some dire straits. Is if I'm going to be putting a garbage running back 2 in regardless, then I want the one that, should something happen to the starter moving forward, I might have an actual locked-in running back 2 the rest of the year. Because all these guys, like at best, you're hoping for 3 to 4 catches or a touchdown from Ty Johnson. Like you can tell me a narrative where Johnson catches 5 balls or Carter catches 5 balls or Davis falls into the end zone, right? And you're just hoping for one of those narratives to play out. And to me, Davis in a snowy game against the most generous run D in the league, like you have a good bet at a touchdown with him. I'd go with that. But then what I'm really hinting at is if something happened to James Cook or Chase Brown in this game. So I think Perine's my favorite because we already had 13 touches last week. This is a defense you want to ground and pound for sure. The biggest run funnel in the league is the Buffalo Bills right now. Very generous to running backs, very difficult for passing games. So I would go Pirine if he is an option, Jimbo, because he also does have that. If Chase Brown went down, he could be an every down back. We've seen him have 30-point days, Samaje Pirine. In the past, he's a consistent tackle breaker. He's a great pass protector. He would be a true 3-down back. Whereas Ray Davis, a little bit less handcuff upside in that he'd be the early down guy, similar to James Cook. And he looks very good every time he gets it. So I think there's a ton of upside to Ray Davis. But Ty Johnson would be mixing in for that receiving work. So to me, it's Pirine, then Davis, if Pirine's even an option. He might not be. I just want to toss out an example of how I'm kind of piecing together my running back too. Davis, though, again, has that handcuff with benefits upside in that he looked great last week, ran for like 50-ish yards, was rumbling, gets the best possible matchup you could ask for. He has a little bit of touchdown equity, could get in there. I know, again, James Cook's been an absolute animal at the goal line, but you never know if Davis is just in there for a change of pace drive and rips a long one. He's got that big play potential. So I would go Davis if it has to be one of these options. And then if not, I do like, again, that Samaje Pirine if he's out there. But of these ones you list, Davis is my favorite, followed by, but again, I would rather go to Pirine myself. Flex, Sutton or DK for MJ Rella. Good question. Two of those receivers that are just like, you don't feel great putting either of them in your lineup, but at the end of the day, either one could score a touchdown any given week. I think I'm leaning to Sutton on this one. I had to look, MJ, at what my rankings were. Because God, this feels really close. Why did I have these guys sifted through? Literally 24 Sutton, 25 DK Metcalf. So they are absolutely neck and neck. But for that, when they're that close, I do end up ultimately leaning to the matchup. And the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken, top 7 matchup. They're 7th in points allowed. They've been better in recent weeks than they were to start the season. Whereas the Ravens, they're also not too great against wide receivers. 10th most points allowed, but they just held Chase to 14. Mechie had 15 against them, but then before that, nobody on the Browns had anything. Nobody. Justin Jefferson had 5. They're not great though. Waddle had 11. It's a fine defense. It's not one I need to avoid. But either way, Sutton, the Raiders are a team that I want to target against. 25 points for Pickens 2 weeks ago. Ladd had 12 last week. Well, Johnson also caught a touchdown too. I go with Sutton in this one. It's a good matchup, and he seems to be the most stable of those Broncos receivers as of right now. Overcome 70x7, and thank you again so much. 7 super chats. We haven't even hit the news yet today. You guys are being so kind, so generous here with our seasons on the line. Oh my God, let's go. DJ Moore or Marks, thank you, sir. Man, I would probably, I get a lot of Woody Marks questions, and I often go him, and it's just like, let me pull up his recent utilization because I keep thinking it's like okay, but maybe it's not. I know the production hasn't been great, but I feel like the underlying usage has been fine. Obviously, a very tough matchup against the Chiefs, so that has to factor in to our outlook here as well. Are the Chiefs the hardest team? 6th hardest team against the running back position. But moving on to Woody Marks and how he has been these last few weeks, because I keep getting a little bit higher. I'm -3 ECR this week because of that tough matchup. And I don't know your exact scoring, but full PPR, which hasn't really made a difference because he has 1 catch in 3 straight games. So seeing that roll evaporate's been a little bit disappointing. We had like a 4-3-4 kind of streak with catches, and that was really boosting the floor. But we've only had 6, 8, and 8 points here for Woody Marks, but we're also getting 18, 16, and 19 carries. And that is good volume. And that's tough to turn down. Very stable workload there. And looking at the snaps and carries, so that's been 86, 67, and 58% carry share. Last week, he got a little dinged up and only played 56% of the snaps. So that's a bit of a concern there as well. Oh, man. And then meanwhile, you got, of course, Rome Odunze out. Does DJ Moore elevate his game, jump up to that true number 1 wide receiver this week? Overcome. Very, very possible that he does. It's also a tough matchup, though, against Green Bay. You guys all know at this point, I am a big Luther Burden guy as well. But gun to my head, I do think I'd go DJ Moore here. It just seems like Woody Marks, the upside's very capped in a tough matchup, despite seeing a good amount of the volume. Kansas City has been very, very good against running backs. And this seems like the path, like if not now, when for DJ Moore. And just a couple of weeks ago, he had a 2-touchdown game, if I'm not mistaken, for DJ Moore. So I did bump him up pretty healthily. He's my wide receiver 28 for the week. I'm +7 ECR. Yeah, just 2 weeks ago, 23 points against Pittsburgh. Man, has it been ugly otherwise, though. 0-3, 23, and 5 in full PPR leagues. That is sketchy, but again, no Ruma Dunze. Consolidate those targets. It could be Luther Burden week. If I was staring at this decision, I think I would go DJ Moore here, overcome. Very tough call. You guys with these super chats have been very generous, but also putting my brain in a pretzel. Some very, very tough questions and calls here for sure. And another super chat coming in. Thank you again so much, guys. 8 super chats again. Robbie with that massive $20 super chat to start the show. Ron with your $5 and a bunch of $2. You guys are so kind and generous. Lewis, Anthony, Jimbo, Fisher, MJ, Rella, and Overcome. You guys are awesome. And Game Machine coming in here with rest of season pick 2. Jones, Neal, Corum, Hunt, Dowdle. So Game Machine, this is a little tricky of a question because it does determine like what do you actually need with these 2 running backs? Are they just bench pieces? Are they starting for you? I do think Aaron Jones is at the heart of this list. He has really been one of the true featured backs in the league over these last few weeks, taken over for Jordan Mason, who still gets a little bit of mix-in work. But Aaron Jones has really been that true number 1 guy since returning. Let me just pull up his recent 72, 67, 66% of snaps. And then last week he did have that injury, so ultimately he went backwards. But in that span, 15, running back 12, 30, 27. So I don't love him, but ultimately getting decent work. And their schedule. The big thing with Aaron Jones is schedule is a complete joke. Fantasy playoffs, 3 straight joke defenses. I would probably lean into Dowdle for the last one. You got Isaiah Pacheco back for Hunt, nibbling each other's cheese. If it was just truly a pure bench stash, you didn't need to start any of these guys, though. Corum does have the highest upside in that if something happened to Kyron, you're talking about an every week running back 1. They're starting to work him in more. But to me, it's Jones and Dowdle. I am worried for sure that Chuba Hubbard last week ended up having a monster day and saw just as much work. It became a close to a dead even split between those guys. Chuba seeing 58% of the snaps, 63% of the routes, whereas Dowdle down to 44% of these snaps. Did out-carry him 51% to 49%, but a significant 25% route share decrease. And Chuba Hubbard also looked very healthy last week as well. Still, though, you're getting really healthy carry totals for Rico Dowdle in like 5 of the last 6 games. Has looked really, really solid workload-wise. But this does look like it is going to be a bit more of a split moving forward and potentially a split that favors Chuba Hubbard. So I understand the concern there. To me, it's like, okay, Devin Neal, what are we really getting from a Saints offense? You got Taysom Hill always as a goal line vulture. That's never appetizing. Plus, Kareem Hunt, again, a good touchdown bet, sure, each and every week. But once Pacheco's back, I saw one of those stats I tweeted out where it's, in the 6 games he's played with Pacheco, he's been outside the top 45 running backs, Kareem Hunt, in 4 of those 6. So it's like, what are we really getting there? I think it's up to 5 out of 7 actually after last week too. So to me, especially if you need to start at least one of these guys, Aaron Jones and Dowdle give you that most, like, I can rely on the volume. At least the Panthers are at least a somewhat stable offense, because as much as I want to hate on the Saints, it's like a Viking stable, but I just trust Aaron Jones far more than I trust Devin Neal this early in his career here. So I would say Aaron Jones, Dowdle, my favorite 2 running backs here for your Game Machine. But if one of them is just like purely a bench option, then maybe you go Corum over Jones. But I'd go Jones and Dowdle myself there. I do have the rest of the season rankings. I think I'm going to stop updating because there's no trade anymore. But yeah, I would have Jones and Dowdle the highest on my rest of season board for sure. Fella, your second super chat. Thank you so much. 9 super chats. We haven't even hit a half hour yet. So kind of generous of you guys. Thank you so much. AJ Brown, Igbuka, Scary Terry, or Tee Higgins. Pick one full PPR. How can we only pick one of these guys? You have elite options here, Mr. Fella. To me, I think it's got to be AJ Brown. The way he's really bounced back and is playing at an insane level. I know it hasn't correlated into the team winning. So as right when you trust the guy is probably when he's going to disappear on you and make you regret it. But 11, 10, and 12 targets in 3 straight games, 12, 25, and 35 PPR points wide receiver 5 and wide receiver 1 the last 2 weeks. It looks like A.J. Brown is here to stay, in my opinion. Chargers, not the best of matchups by any mean for the wide receivers, but ultimately, Saquon can't get anything going on the ground. So Chargers rank, let me just find, they're the hardest matchup for wide receivers. I did not realize they were that good. But, I mean, okay, Trey Tucker, the Jags the week before that, the Steelers, the Titans. I'm not that worried about this team. They haven't faced anybody in recent weeks. So, I mean, Michael Pittman paced him for 17, Debo for 19, Sutton for 20. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about this matchup. I would go A.J. Brown. Like, Buka's just been in that rough downturn lately. Scary Terry, the Vikings haven't allowed a touchdown in 4 straight weeks, and I'm very excited to see what he does with Daniels. I know I recommended him somebody earlier, but we're now comparing Terry to A.J. Brown, not Travis Etienne. You know what I mean? Tee Higgins is actually, I believe, the second highest I have in my rankings, but now you got the snow to deal with in that one. So the way I rank these guys, I have him A.J. Brown, then Igbuka, then Higgins, and then Scary Terry is how I would rank those 4 for you, fella. With A.J. Brown, the one I would absolutely go with. Again, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 1, the last 2 weeks. That is where I am leaning. You guys just keep the generous super chats coming. Thank you again so much, AJ Fella. And now my man Chris, AJ Fella, Anthony Fella. Of course I know it's Anthony. Why I call you AJ Brown on the mind there, Mr. Anthony Fella. I'm sure you guys have a striking resemblance, you and AJ Brown, in terms of your athleticism, right? Chris D, we'll call it. Thank you so much, Chris, for the super chat. All righty, we got Godwin, Strange, Dowdle, rest of season. Would have to drop one of Strange or Dowdle to get Godwin. Also stashing Algier, so could drop him, and Warren is my tight end. I really like Strange. I think he's a phenomenal option, and I think the first thing you got to do, Chris, is take a look at the teams, because you're talking the rest of the season, so you probably have the playoffs on the mind. And I don't know if you have a bye already locked up, but you want to look at the teams you're going to potentially face and think, okay, if I drop this guy, who would I be helping out the most? Like, is there a team that desperately needs a tight end? Because Strange moving forward is a top 7, top 6 rest of the season tight end in my rankings. And maybe that's going to end up looking foolish, but since returning, and really all year, whenever he's been active, if you look at like his first read targets, he's always consistently been like an actual part of the game plan. Like a 16% first read target share. That's like a top 5 metric for a tight end to be that high on the list. 2.94 yards per route run, highly efficient in that sense. Tight end 4, tight end 7 since returning. 14 points in back-to-back weeks in full PPR. That's a very good tight end. I would certainly play Warren over him. But if you're going to hand an opponent who's like struggling at tight end, just a shoe-in, plug-in option that you might end up having to face in a good, schedule moving forward with the Jets. Broncos are actually weak against tight ends compared to every other position. And then you got another smash spot against Indy in your championship week, and you run into Brenton Strange and he just buries you. You'd be pretty upset about that. So ultimately, I do want Godwin on your team. I'll tell you that. I think Godwin's trending the right way. When Evans comes back, I think it honestly only helps him. Him and Igbuka will constantly be nibbling each other's cheese, but even still, Godwin looked healthy. He was the number 2 receiver in points per game. I think that role will only continue to elevate. So I personally am dropping Algier here. I understand it's a very high upside handcuff. Something happens to Bijan, you got yourself a runaway hammer running back. But Bijan is just like, I don't, knock on wood here, the epitome of health, a picture of clean health. He never gets hurt. He's young. He's fresh. He's spry. He's strong the way he's built. Like, just seems like one of those guys. Again, I'm knocking on wood because I know as soon as I'm saying this, like something could go wrong. And Algier would be a true running back 1. He's one of those handcuffs that, like, someone goes down, you're talking about top 7 potential running back. Algier is one of the very few that's in that conversation. So I get it. That's terrifying to release too. But, Dowdle, is he droppable? I want to wait another week. After week 14, maybe you drop Algier this week. You hope he makes it through waivers. You see what Dowdle does in week 14, and you scoop Algier back up as a high upside stash another time. Because I just don't want to give up. Dowdle looked so good, and so many of the advanced metrics talk about success rate and yards over expectation, and certainly yards through contact Dowdle's been an absolute beast in some of those metrics. And if Chuba Hubbard comes in and outscores him again and sees more snaps again, okay, maybe we can cut bait and you don't have to like be worried about facing Dowdle. But I don't know. Dowdle's one of those guys where if I drop him, my opponent picks him up, slides him in at running back 2, and he has 20 carries, 120 and a touchdown. Like, why did I do that to myself when I could have just dropped Algier and he wouldn't have hurt me? So to me, I'm thinking of like what could hurt you the most, Chris? And of course, Bijan going down and Algier becoming a running back 1. That could be a cannonball that steamrolls your lineup, and that's too bad. And I'm sorry. But when I just look at like what is guaranteed to potentially hurt you, like Dowdle, Strange, Godwin all have that upside to do some real damage to you in the playoffs. So I would personally drop Algier for this. But if you look around and nobody would really use Strange, you're facing Bowers, you're facing Trey McBride, and you're facing George Kittle, and none of those guys would actually use Strange, then sure, maybe you get rid of him too. But of yours, I would drop Algier myself. J1364, thank you so much for the super chat. As always, you're very kind and generous. Seen you coming in multiple times. You guys have been awesome today. Thank you so much. We got tight end half PPR rest of season. Fannin, Parkinson, or Ertz with Jaden Daniels. I lean to Ertz on this one. You got the Rams frustrating rotation. I know Higbee's now removed, but I think Ferguson could see that role continue to uptick. I mean, if Njoku was out of here, Fannin, I think, would be a top 6 tight end. So talented, but you're tied to Shador, and just a gross overall offense. I'd rather just see what Ertz, who was a top 8 tight end with Jaden Daniels throughout last year. I'd rather see what he does. It seems like this team is willing to just sling it 50-something times a game. Let's see what happens there. So I do like Ertz the most. Great rapport with both him and Mariota. What's he off, like a 10-catch day? He's a clear cut of the Cliff Kingsbury offense has always featured a tight end. And honestly, it's always been almost always Ertz when he was with the Cardinals too. He just loves to scheme up looks for this guy. So reliable, such a great safety blanket for a team that can't really protect very well right now. I think Ertz will continue to get those like 6 to 10 catch days. He feels like the safest bet of that group for me, Jay. Jimbo Fisher coming in with a second super chat. Thank you so much, Jimbo. I have Chase Brown running back 1 this week. Would you still play Pirine over the other running backs mentioned earlier? That does change things a little bit because now you're like betting against yourself. And you're like, if you don't really win if Chase Brown goes down, you know what I mean? It's like, I guess it's an insurance policy. Great. But now it's like, okay, now what? So if that's the case, Jimbo, probably not. If you have someone you could drop, I would probably drop them for Pirine to still have that insurance policy. But ultimately, at this point, I wouldn't do that because when you win the bet, and that's Chase Brown going down, you actually lose the bet pretty heavily. And then you're starting like Pirine, a downgrade from Chase Brown plus one of those other guys. So I would probably stick with Ray Davis on that one, Jimbo Fisher. In terms of Debo or Terry, it's got to be the guy that saw 14 targets for me last week. And again, the receivers that have beat down the Commanders, or rather the Vikings, are the ones where like a quarterback escapes a blitz and then uncorks it. And that just feels like Terry and Jay Daniels' game. And it's coming off a 23-point day. Terry in full PPR. I know you've only gotten 4 games really out of him, but they've been 10, 10, 14, and 23 points. I mean, when he's out there, he's looked good. So I'm going to stick with Terry on this one. And I've just always been a huge Terry McLaurin guy. And I think finally he's healthy. Finally he's ready to roll. And his quarterback's ready to roll. So give me Terry. And again, for running back, I'd probably go Ray Davis with that added context. And Chris, thank you so much. Gotta say, man, you're my favorite analyst right now. Thank you so much. Hopefully I keep it that way and get it right for you, brother. I know it's so tough, especially this time of the year, to get it correct for you. Let me know what you end up doing, Chris, as well. As always, especially those of you that are willing to super chat. I do check my DMs on Twitter and I look out. So just say, Chris from YouTube. Let me know who you end up dropping, how it goes. I'm always happy to chat ball with those of you that are willing to say your thanks and support like this. Very kind of you. Very generous of you. You're the man. And hopefully we keep rolling, Chris. I hope I can stay that way. I hate that. I loved hearing that, but also then the pressure picks up is like, because I'm going to get something wrong at some point. I mean, every week I'm going to get something wrong. Just in terms of for you, at some point, I'm probably going to get something wrong, and that sucks, and I hate it. There's nothing worse when like someone's like, "You're my favorite guy. I trust you more than anybody," and I give them the wrong take. That sucks. But man, let's keep the good times rolling. Hopefully that's not till next year. Let's get you that title in 2025, baby. Thank you so much, though, Chris and Jimbo and Jay, all you guys. Robbie at the top again with that $20 super chat. We're at 13 super chats, and we haven't even hit our news yet today. You guys are so kind, so generous. Thank you so much. We got 1,400 of you live here with me. I haven't asked yet, but that's a great number. Please consider hitting that thumbs up button. Last week we hit 5,000 live viewers. I don't know if I'll ever do that again, but it was a new shiny record. It was incredible. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, you hit that heart button on Twitter, the thumbs up on YouTube. It really does help us grow and get out to more people. So thank you again so much for spending your Sunday mornings with me. I'm going to quickly hit some Thursday night football takeaways, hit some news. As always, though, if you do have a super chat, send it on in. My man David Campanelli is in the moderator sheet checking for those super chats, and he will alert me if any come in. But in the meantime, some just quick takeaways from Thursday night football. The biggest being CeeDee Lamb had a concussion. He's in protocol right now. Probably had a good Friday this week, and he does have that extra time to clear it for week 15. So should be okay, but I'm no doctor. I don't want to guarantee that. He was, of course, on pace for his best game of the year. In fact, he had his highest yardage total with 121 and 6 catches on 8 targets through roughly a half. Was absolutely cooking, looked great, and ultimately hope he's okay for your playoff pushes. We shall see. Dak Prescott still threw for 376. You'd think, George Pickens must have really stepped up. He did have 9 targets, but caught only 5 of them at 37 yards. Had a meltdown against Richard Sherman. Seemed to be quitting on his team. George, what are you doing? You have the path to $40 million a year. He's going to get the bag. This wide receiver free agent class is horrendous. So George Pickens should be getting the bag. These are the things you cannot be doing in order to secure that bag, is having meltdowns, quitting on your team in the middle of the game. Ugh, disgusting. And so who did step up? Ryan Flournoy, a guy who I actually love. I love Ryan Flournoy. Good story, hard worker. One of those guys that worked with Dak throughout the entire offseason. First guy in, last guy out. 13 targets, 9 catches, 115 and a touchdown. An absolutely monster day for Flournoy. His second 100-yard game on the season, and he does play that slot role very, very well. So if Lamb was to miss time, I do think actually Flournoy would be quite an intriguing sleeper. And then for the Cowboys, the running game, it was Javonte Williams, as always, dominating the workload, 17 score. Really got there for you. On the line side of things, Jahmyr Gibbs, my good Lord. He ultimately has 3 touchdowns, 30, depending on your scoring, 38 fantasy points, 7 catches, 77 yards through the air, 43 on the ground as well. Unbelievable game for Jahmyr Gibbs. Montgomery was still able to get there with 60 yards and a touchdown, had that 35-yard scamper. Had he not scored that, it would have been an atrocious, horrific day. So he still is like teetering on the edge of like, can I actually trust this guy in a given week? But he got there for you this week. And then in the passing game, 309 yards for Goff with one of the most impressive, gutsy performances. Amon-Ra doesn't practice all week, has a rolled high ankle sprain. No problem. 6 catches, 96 yards. I mean, this guy plays through punctured lungs, broken ribs. This is the type of guy you want to build your franchise with. Just a lunch pail. I'm going to come and I'm going to just do my thing. You still can't guard me. And still puts up a great game. And JMO did outperform him with 7 catches, 96 yards. Both saw 9 targets. Both had solid enough days. But on a day where they had 4 rushing touchdowns, just 1 passing score for Goff on the day. And, of course, King Brandon Aubrey, 5 field goals, like multiple over 50 yards, I believe over 20 fantasy points from your kicker. That's quite the way to enter your week, is if you had 20 points from your quick kicker. On the defensive side, Brian Branch did for the Lions suffer a torn ACL or Achilles, rather. Unfortunately, worst possible news that you could get there. Moving on to the news. But first, we did get a super chat, so I will pause that and go on over. Ron, we already hit you, but it is Angel. Angel, thank you so much for your super chat, good sir. I need 2 at the flex between Adonai Mitchell, Barkley. I just got to pause and laugh. Like, the fact that, and I don't even think you're wrong to ask this. This isn't laughing at you, Angel. Just the craziness of the season that we are asking, rightfully so, to compare Saquon Barkley and Adonai Mitchell in a flex question. And again, I don't blame you for asking it. Is just, imagine telling the preseason, hey, at week 15, you're going to be asking Saquon Barkley versus Adonai Mitchell this year. I would have spit laughing in your face and then probably spit on you for saying such a ridiculous thing. And then here we are with it being one of the most reasonable questions you could possibly ask. Insane. Insane. The fantasy gods are up to some crazy stuff this year. My goodness, Angel. But good question. I mean, honestly, AD Mitchell, Barkley, Igbuka, Sutton, Swift, or Pierce. Oh, man. Like, Barkley is the putting right now the ultimate, like, do you start your studs? Because is he even a stud anymore? Like, what is happening here with Saquon Barkley? Assuming half PPR, and it might be full, and my apologies, but it's not going to make – he hasn't really catch a ton of balls, so it won't make a humongous difference for him. 12, 10, 9, and 6 points in his last 4 games, running back 20, 27, 24, and 43. Not great, Saquon, not great at all. I'm looking at this list, though, and it's like, okay, Sutton, if he gets you 10, you'd be happy. If Swift gets you to 12, you'd be happy. If Pierce, yes, these guys all do have that blow-up long touchdown ball upside. So if that's what you want in your lineup, okay, I get that, no doubt. But I think I got to roll Barkley. I think I got to go with him. Chargers are much more of a run funnel. It's not like you have to run on them, but fewest points allowed to wide receivers. And then in terms of running backs, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's top 10, but it's 20th in terms of points allowed. So there's a good defense overall. So I get it with the matchup hesitancy, but I can't bench Barkley, like not for these options. He's my running back 14. I'm a little bit below ECR, but I have him ahead of Swift, and I'd have him above AD Mitchell. I think for me, I'm going Barkley and Igbuka. I like the New Orleans matchup. It's been a little while since we've seen Igbuka do Igbuka things, what he was doing to start the year. But I just can't. Yeah, and I'm looking at the Chargers. So they gave up 19 to Travis Etienne and 13 to Bashal too. And they were getting absolutely pounded. They did hold Ashton Genty to just 9 last week, but we had Jonathan Taylor go for 32. We had Devon Achane go for 29. Corey Krusky-Merritt went for 20. The team can be run on. We've seen that happen. So I'm going to stick with Barkley. No doubt about it. In terms of Igbuka, oh, man, like it's been really, really tough for the guy. Looking at the final production these last few weeks, 7, 5, and 6 in half PPR. Not great. Yeah, that 21-pointer against New England. I mean, we could date that back to week 6, 3, 8, 5, 21, 7, 5, 6. I keep ranking him high just because I'm clinging to that 22, 11, 12, 18, 28 start. Like, look like the biggest young stud in the game did Igbuka. And when I see him play, I'm always so impressed by the guy. I'd have a very hard time benching him against New Orleans. New Orleans is just such a joke of a defense. And like, if this is, a get right spot of all get right spots, in my opinion, I think I'm going to go with Igbuka there. It comes down to, for me, Igbuka versus Swift. But that Green Bay matchup's tough. So I'm going to go Barkley. I'm going to go Igbuka. Maybe, Angel, I'm clinging a little bit too much to my always play your studs. Because both those studs have been very underwhelming. If you're riding the hot hands, it's certainly AD Mitchell. But I see like benching Igbuka, he has 20 on your bench. AD Mitchell drops a touchdown, ends up having like 1 catch for 8 yards. And you're just like, what was I thinking? That could certainly play out too. Very tough call. Because you got the underperforming studs, the hot hands, some in between. If you wanted to bench Igbuka, I would do it for Sutton. I would say Barkley, I'm going to lock in no matter what and just hope for the best. But ultimately, if I had to play one of these guys, I would go I'd go Barkley. And if you had to bench Igbuka, I'd go Sutton myself. But I'm going to go Barkley, Igbuka if it was me. Robbie, what's going on? I have RJ Harvey on my bench. Does this change your thoughts? I'm starting Hampton, as you said. Gibbs, Javonte already went. Oh, so in that case, yes, that does change it. I'm glad you had that context, Robbie, because I'd have Harvey the highest of this list. Coming off his season high in terms of carries last week, you get a Raiders team that is absolutely reeling on defense. I believe the last few games in particular, they've been very generous to running backs. I'm just going to pull up real quick what the last few backs. Vidal had 20. I know I started Vidal last week. Judkins had 16. Well, Sampson had 15 in that game. The Broncos game, Dobbins had 8. He ran 18 for 77, so that wasn't great. And they did hold Javonte to 9. Then you had Etienne going for 14 while Tootin put up 9. So this run defense is nothing to be worried about. And as we were saying, so Harvey, let me just pull up his utilization. I think it was pretty solid last week, and he ended up scoring those 2 touchdowns as well. Good spot against the Commanders, so it was a good spot to do it. But it was more so the underlying, 62 and 61% rush share these last 2 games with no Dobbins. The 21 fantasy points last week, phenomenal performance there. Still underwhelming, like his route share dipped, which was annoying. He went from 48% to 29% routes. I didn't love that. But ultimately, I think this is like if he's dominating carries, this is the type of game script you want for RJ Harvey. They should be able to get up early. They should be able to bleed clock. I like Omarion Hampton over those options, but I like Harvey even more than Hampton. I have him at running back 13, Robbie, actually. A fringe running back 1 this week for me. Love him at 5,700 on DraftKings today as well. I absolutely would go with RJ Harvey. I'd take him off your bench. I would play him over Hampton. I'd play him over Jacoby Myers. I would go RJ Harvey for sure. I'm glad you added that context, Robbie. And thank you so much. The double super chat, $25 worth of super chats today. You're a legend, Robbie. I really, really greatly appreciate it. You single-handedly have supported your boys so much this year. Thank you so much for your generosity, Robbie. But yes, go Harvey. That would be if you had put him in the first one, I would have said Harvey. We wouldn't have to worry about the other ones. I really like Harvey for sure today. Castro Raider, thank you so much, Raider, for your super chat. Pick 2 receivers: Watson, Reed, Burden, Adonai, Starton, Wilson. Yeah, you got to start Michael Wilson, and he's going to be a guy we talk about. No Marvin Harrison, 18 and 15 targets in those 2 games. First read domination. No Craig Dortch even. Wilson's a no-brainer. I would have to go Watson on that one. Christian Watson's just been lights out for the Packers, and I know Reed returns today, so how does that nibble into the cheese? How does that factor in? But Watson's been getting end zone targets, deep targets, 90% route share. I got to keep playing him. He just looks great too. He looks like he never got hurt or is recovering from anything. So Christian Watson's great. And you got a great matchup against Chicago. Phenomenal schematic matchup in terms of the coverage they run, the high safety. They are giving up a ton of deep plays to wide receivers. They have a very weak pass rush as well. So this is setting up. I really like the Green Bay passing attack today, Castro. That being said, I don't think I would double up Watson and Reed. This gives you a chance to see what Reed does. He gets eased back in, looks good, but only has a couple catches type of thing. Great. I had Watson score me the touchdown and rack up 90 yards anyways. So I would go Burden versus Adonai Mitchell. That's a very tough one. I like both of these guys today. I think this is one where I would go Adonai Mitchell, and I know I'm lower on the guy, -5 ECR. I don't have that in my rankings. I have Burden at 33 and 34. I'm going to flip those guys, though, just because we've already seen 80 operate as the true number 1 here, whereas Burden, you got DJ Moore, you got Loveland. I know you remove Rome, and it's a big mouth to remove. I fully understand and acknowledge that. But Adonai Mitchell, 12 targets, 8 catches, 100 and a touchdown, looking great. And the thing that sells me on AD too is it was never a talent question. A lot of people thought he was going to go in round 1 as a prospect. In terms of average separation score, open score, all these metrics, the guy is one of the best guys at creating space in the league right now. And so, he's always been able to get open. It's just been a matter of can he catch the ball? He has so many drops on his resume, but lately he has definitely been hauling the ball in with much more consistency. So, yeah, I'm going to go Adonai Mitchell, slightly over Bird. I'm adjusting the rankings as we speak. I'm up in Adonai Mitchell. I mean, with this weather concerns and the Jags, maybe above Pierce, I think I'm a little too low on AD. So I'm bumping him up a little bit here. And Burden I do really like today, but I'm going to go Watson, Adonai Mitchell, and I totally agree that you got to keep starting Wilson there as well. All righty, guys. Thank you again so much for all your super chats. I believe that has us caught up completely. 16 super chats. We haven't even hit our first hour yet. You guys are amazing. On to some quick news. It's only about 10 total stories, but we got to rip through it real quick. Jaden Daniels is starting, as you guys likely know. Tough matchup against Minnesota. Been very good against passing. Very generous to running backs. A run funnel for sure right now. But the quarterbacks they have struggled with typically are the mobile ones that buy a little time and let the receivers get deep. So I'm decently high on Jaden Daniels. I believe the last I checked I was plus 10 ECR. I'm excited to just get him back into my lineup. Oh no, so at this point the ECR has caught up and he's actually the quarterback 9. So I'm going to bump him up because I had him right at 7 and people are like, "Oh, you're crazy." So I'm definitely putting Jaden Daniels up a little bit here. I don't want to be below ECR on him by any means. So yeah, he's getting the bump up for me. Quarterback, I'll put him even over Baker, who's only had 200 yards once in the last 5 weeks. Yeah, give me Jaden Daniels today. Tough matchup, but I'm not going to put him over Baker actually because New Orleans is too juicy. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, really, really like the play today. We also have Justin Herbert has that broken hand, is expected to play, but there is reports he might have to only play out of the shotgun. He might not be in goal line snaps. Probably going to run less. So a lot of what made him an elite fantasy option for a while this season might be taken away. And ultimately, they just haven't been throwing it with nearly as much success these last few weeks. We've seen Herbert really, really take a dip in his production. He has had 15, 4, and 14. So quarterback 17, 31, and 19 these last 3 weeks. So I'm not overly optimistic in a tough matchup against the Eagles. I'm a little bit lower than the ECR on Herbert, by a spot or two. Would prefer to not trust him this week. Lamar Jackson is off the injury report. He will play. The question is, should he play for you after he has been an abomination on the football field? I'm -5 ECR on Lamar Jackson, 7, 7, and 8 fantasy points. Quarterback 29, 25, and 27 these last few weeks. Does not look fully right or healthy as of right now. Not exactly sure what is going on with the guy. Doesn't seem like he can read a defense. I mean, you get Cincinnati at home, the most generous defense in the league, and you only put up 8 points. I'm benching Lamar where I have him and hoping he looks right and I can start using him again in the playoffs. I'm at the point where I almost want to cut the guy. If you just erase the name and looked at the production, he wouldn't be on your roster. The only hesitancy there for me is I know I'd cut him. My opponent in the fantasy championship would have him on his roster and he'd put up 30 on me. So I can't play him right now. It depends on who your other options are. But Jordan Love, I'd rather have in my lineup than Lamar. I'd rather play Jacoby Brissett today, even in a tough spot against the Rams. Daniel Jones, I'd have above Lamar today. Maybe I'm crazy, but I am not playing Lamar Jackson where I have him. And then the last note is Kyler Murray will be likely done for the year. So those of you that have Jacoby Brissett and have been relying on him, you should be good to go the rest of the season with him. We are going to move to the running back position, but we had one more follow-up for Angel. He needs a kicker between Little, Prater, Boswell, or Folk. I think with this weather, I'm going to drop. Let me do a live ranking here for you because I wanted to bump down a few of these Jags and Colts products, and I am going to bump down. I had Daniel Jones plus 6 ECR, but with this weather, maybe I would put him below Lamar at this point because it seems like that could be a tough spot to get much going. So I would play Lamar over Daniel Jones. I'm going to have to take Daniel Jones out of my DFS lineup. So maybe I'll leave one in. But yeah, I am a little bit worried for the kicking game in these wet conditions as well. So Cam Little, you know what? I already had him at 13 anyway, so he's probably below these guys. I'd probably go Boswell. Boswell is an absolute weapon. I know it's hit or miss, but the Ravens are going to give it up the most points to kickers on the year. And Boswell, anytime you get within the 50, you're kind of automatic there. So I'm going to go Boswell for you, Angel. I know last week only 1 point makes it a little risky, but I like Bos. I'm a big Boswell fan. And again, the best matchup for kickers possible for you there. I would be going Boswell over Little for you. Thank you again so much with that super chat. Moving on to the running back position. We got about 1,900 of you here right at the first hour. Solid total. Great views. Probably not pushing that 5K we did last week, but hey, ultimately love to see about 2,000 of you here live. Please consider hitting that heart button on Twitter, the thumbs up on YouTube. Help us continue to get out to more people. The likes, the shares, the retweets, that stuff really does help us grow so much. So if you enjoy what you're hearing, you appreciate it, please do consider that free way to support your boy as well. In terms of the quick running back news, we know Omarion Hampton will play. And as mentioned, this is not a bad matchup for the guy, considering they were giving up eighth most points to backs. And now you remove Jalen Carter. So this is a fine spot to walk back in on. Just a matter of how much work can we expect. Kamani Vidal looking so good in his absence as well. Aaron Jones off the injury report. Great matchup against the Commanders. They just gave up 2 touchdowns to RJ Harvey last week. I like Aaron Jones. I'm plus 10 ECR on the guy. And I do think this limits Jordan Mason's appeal at minus 10 ECR on him. Alvin Kamara is out, which Devin Neal has dominated the workload to very mediocre and middling results these last few weeks. Still in play as a volume-based running back too. And I always liked the prospect for Devin Neal. Thought he was underrated. 81% of the snaps, 58% of the rushes, and 71% of the routes. That route share is what I'm really liking. He had 69% the week before, but just 11 and 9 points to show for it the last 2 weeks, which is, again, I shouldn't scoff at just 11 and 9. As an owner with a very glaring running back 2 hole on my roster right now, I'd love something like Devin Neal, but ultimately not a must play just because Kamara is out. Seeing great peripherals and volume there as well. And then for the Cardinals, Trey Benson could potentially return the season is the latest, but he's not quite there yet for this week. Okay. And he has to be activated by Wednesday. So if not activated by Wednesday, Benson ultimately would be gone, burning a hole in your IR all season, maybe cost you a ton of fab in that 1 week. We'll always have that 1 week. Thanks, Trey. Oh, sickening. One of those complete landmines of the year, whether or not he returns. And if he doesn't return, it's even worse. DeMarcado also will be out this week. He's kind of my favorite of this Cardinals backs. He has a lot of juice every time he pops. I stashed him in my IR for now because in week 17, they have the Bengals. And so whoever's the starting running back for the Cardinals week 17 will probably be a top 20 running back for fantasy purposes. But this week, it's going to be the Bam Knight show again. And he's had 11 or more points in 3 straight games. Very tough matchup against the Rams. But again, like I said, there's a lot of running back 2 holes out there, myself included. I would be killing for a guy like him. We did have a few more super chats come in before we move to the wide receiver news. Thank you again so much, Castro, with your second super chat. I greatly appreciate it. He's looking for 2 running backs between Neal, Hunt, Woody, and Monangai. I would be leaning Monangai. I'm going to cross Hunt off this equation, unfortunately, because, again, one, it's a very, very tough matchup against Houston, just a great defense against every position, including running backs. He's just so touchdown or bust. He has not with Kareem Hunt with Pacheco in the lineup has been outside the top 38 running backs in 5 of 7 games, outside the top 45 in 4 of those 7 too. Has not hit double digits. He's only hit double digits twice, and they've been touchdown games. And granted, he's a great touchdown option. I think Kareem Hunt looks very solid. He's one of the top backs in success rate. He's doing good things. But ultimately, once Pacheco's back, it is a timeshare. Everything now leans his way, at least. But I do have him. I'm going to bump him below Neal in my rankings. I think I have him just a little too high, Kareem Hunt, in the rankings, given the matchup, given the workload. I think Charbonnet I'd even play above him. I personally have Monangai and Woody the highest of these backs. Again, Monangai, I just love in terms of the eyeball test, guy is absolutely popping, complete tackle burner, scored in 4 straight. He's in that David Montgomery touchdown role with more juice because he gets anywhere from like 10 to 20 carries in a given week if he gets hot. So I like Monangai. I'm going to keep riding that touchdown train. And then, he's the tier above for me. And then it becomes, oh man, what do we do? I'd probably go Woody Marks. Tough matchup against KC, but again, very, very solid carry totals these last few weeks. It's just a matter of can he start producing on it? I don't know. But you got 18, 16, 19 carries for Woody. We know he can catch the rock. I think it's only a matter of time before we get back to some of those touchdowns, potentially as early as this week, despite the tough matchup. So I'd go Woody, and I would go Monangai for that one, Castro. Andrew Meyer, very generous of you. Thank you so much. We're at 20 super chats, and we're just at the first hour. You guys are the best. Full PPR, pick 3, Nico, Amika, BTJ, T, Devonta, and Michael Wilson. Crazy, but Michael Wilson is actually my favorite. Again, 18 and 15 targets in those games. I think Nico has to be in your lineup, kind of at that no-brainer spot. I know it's not the season we all were hoping for and anticipated, but love to see Stroud's first game back, 10 targets, 19, and we're in full PPR, so even better in terms of production there. 22 fantasy points, 15, 23, 24, 9, and 22. Nico's kind of become a no-brainer. So for me, those two are easy. Nico, Michael Wilson, you lock those two in. It gets a little trickier from there. And I'll tell you, the more I dove into Ibuka, the less enthused I am. I'm bumping Tee Higgins up. Now, it's scary weather. I get that. A little bit of snow here for that game. Certainly not trusting BTJ. I promise you that. Devonta Smith, boom, bust, inconsistent there. I'm going to go Nico. I'm going to go Michael Wilson. Again, my favorite two. And then it does get trickier between T and Emeka Egbuka. That's the two I would limit it to. Andrew, I personally would go T, hoping for a shootout today. Fully clear the concussion protocol. You got Joe Burr back. The defense is atrocious. I hope that game's a fun one today. We'll find out. But I'm going to go Nico, T, and Michael Wilson. T versus Emeka Egbuka for that third and final spot. Great wide receiver core that you have here. You can only imagine if BTJ was hitting like he was supposed to, Andrew, how insane this roster would be. But Nico, Michael Wilson, no doubt. Play them, and then I personally would go T for that third spot. And I bumped Emeka down a spot. Bulldog, what is going on? Good morning. Darren Waller or Jawan Johnson, and Burden, BTJ, or Godwin, and Brissett or Lamar. So we got a handful to decode for you. I'll start with the quarterbacks because I'd go Brissett over Lamar at this point. Yeah, it would hurt if Lamar has his coming out party today, and it's like, okay, he's fully healthy. Now we can trust him moving forward. I'd love to see it, but I'm going to absolutely have him on my bench until I do see it. Again, quarterback 29, 25, and 27, single-digit points in 3 straight games. Isn't it something like he hasn't scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, and that's the longest streak of his career? It's insane how bad things have turned for Lamar, whereas Brissett has been a top 12 quarterback all 7 starts so far this year. It's a tough spot against the Rams, but so much of his production has been garbage time, and I know that's the theory of garbage time. Rich Rebar did a great series on this and how it's you can't always depend on it. You can't always live on it. But it seems like Jacoby Brissett sure can. And this is a game that shapes up with the Rams dominant on the other side. My only worry there is they match up so well, the Rams, with like the dink and dunk offense. That's what the Cardinals really struggle to defend. You can see the Rams just dominating the time of possession in this one. But Brissett, they truly lean into this guy at an insane clip. And ultimately, like I was saying, he has not been outside the top 12 quarterbacks in a single start yet this year. And so, yeah, it's a tough spot, but I'm gonna rip with that one. It has not had below 19 fantasy points. That just seems like a floor that I want to lean into. So give me Brissett there. In terms of the wide receiver situation, like I said, I'm not going BTJ. I'll start with that. I don't think I've adjusted his rank yet for the rain, and I already didn't like him. But I'm gonna just keep bumping him down. I like Godwin. I'm an admitted Godwin truther and homer, but I just thought he looked really healthy last week. That's like the first time he looked like Chris Godwin. And we saw his routes go up. He went from 60, increased to a 60% route share, an 18% target share, had those 78 yards, 3.9 yard per route run, 22% first read. And I think it just keeps getting elevated more and more and more as the season goes. 2 red zone, a deep target, very solid stuff here. And I just really like right now Chris Godwin. I think he's trending the right way. So I'd go Godwin slightly over Burden there. In terms of the tight ends, good luck, guys. I do have them tight end 9 and tight end 10. I have Jawan just slightly above. Do I really want to go Jawan over Waller? Because I believe the Jets, I got to pull it back up, but I think I saw that the Jets allow the 3rd most touchdowns to tight ends. So let me just pull that up. 4th most touchdowns, and they're tied. They're tied for 2nd most touchdowns allowed to the tight end. We've got the Bengals at the top of that list. It's not even close. They're allowing over a touchdown per game to tight ends, and then we got the Jets, Jags, and 49ers and Dolphins all tied in terms of what they allow. So the Jets are only 18th in points allowed to the position despite allowing so many touchdowns. But when you're playing Waller, you're playing him for a touchdown or bust type of options. And so the last thing I want to check is like Juwan, these last few. I mean, he still has continued. It's half PPR. So let me make sure I check that. It's just been great workloads from Tyler Shuck, 10, 8, 11, 17, 8, and then 6 was a little bit concerning last week. Still had 5 catches, but just 39 yards on him. Tampa Bay, I believe, is a decent matchup for the position. 20th, they're not great matchup. I think, and I'm starting Waller, so admitted bias here. But I think I'm going to go Darren Waller over Juwan Johnson here. And just a good bet for a touchdown today is how I look at that one, Bulldog. So I'd go Waller, I'd go Godwin, and I'd go Brissett. Best of luck, Bulldog. Thank you again so much. And thank you very much here, Rilo Chesner. I know I butchered that, Riley probably is the name here. Riley Chesner. PPR, Olave or Vele. Nervous of Olave's back. Olave's in. I'm playing him over Devaughn Vele. That's just call me stubborn in terms of always play your studs. But I'm playing Olave. Good matchup against Tampa Bay. They're allowing Tampa Bay, I believe it's top 10 in points to the position. 11th in points allowed. Okay, so close to top 10. And it's just always, I mean, Olave's been really solid all year. Like his season low, and this is full PPR, so he's going to be even better than that. But I believe he hasn't dipped below 8 points in full PPR all year. No, he hasn't even dipped below 9 is his low on the year for full PPR. 12, 11, 16, 10, 13, 16, 27, 24, 9, 21, 16, 15. I mean, I'm not benching that. Unless the back, he's out. I'm playing Olave. He had the back thing last week. He had 15 points. Wide receiver 18 and 18 in back-to-back games. I'm just playing Olave. He's been so solid all year despite this horrific environment. I'm intrigued by Vele and the uptick in routes, the uptick a good, huge game. He outscored Olave, I believe, last week. Despite Olave having 15, Vele had that touchdown. So I believe he might have even been a top 12 wide receiver by the end of things. Let me just check that. Yeah, wide receiver 7 with 23. He has seen 7 and 8 looks. I mean, Vele is certainly in play today, but not over Olave. And then you say Waddle ? Waddle's been a bit of a concern lately, but the Jets without Sauce feels like a very, very good spot to get it right. I have him at wide receiver 14 on -5 ECR, but I'd be playing him. 21, 14, 19, 8, and 7 points in his last 5. So the 8 and 7 these last few weeks is where the concern lies. But I'm playing him. The target, he's been very efficient on his work. The targets do leave a bit to be desired. Since, you'd think with Tyreek out, he'd be getting just hammered. 6, 9, 7, 7, 6 targets is consistent, but not it's consistent for like a mid-range to low-end wide receiver 2. But he's so talented, he's giving you high-end wide receiver 2 production with it. So I would rank them Olave, then Waddle, then Vele. If it's between those 3, that's how I would sift through those, Ryan. Thank you again, Riley. And thank you, everybody else, for those super chats. So kind, so generous of you. We have a few wide receiver news and notes. We're already an hour in, and we have barely hit the regular mailbag because you guys have been so kind and generous with your super chats. Remember, a free way to help your boy out with 2,300 of you here is that thumbs up button, the likes, the shares, the retweets. I should also make sure to mention that RotoStreetJournal.com is where all these rankings are, and they're live, they're free. I update them throughout the show as we go through this, and that's why I love this show, is you guys help me sit through my rankings. I can look at the data, I can rank them, but then when push comes to shove and I actually have to make your sit-start decision, I know I'm not making it for you, but if I was in your shoes, that helps me ultimately sift through these rankings, get a final draft of them. And so thank you again so much, and thank you coming in, ILM Eli. You're the man. You come in here, you always just give me a salute. So salute back to you. Thank you so much. Please do let me know if you have a question, but I always, always greatly appreciate your kindness, your generosity. 3 super chats today, but again, you're just so kind to not even have a question and just do it. You're the best. So thank you again so much for you guys being here. Again, 2,400 of you. Please consider hitting that thumbs up, the heart button on Twitter, like, shares, retweets, and of course, check out RotoStreetJournal.com for these updated rankings. In terms of wide receiver news and notes, can't get to them quite yet because we had yet another couple super chats come in. You guys are the best. So generous. Win and get first and buy. Reed, Godwin, Adonai Mitchell. Need 1 for my man, Austin Firster. You've probably already heard me, Austin, rave about the guy, but Chris Godwin Saw the routes bump up to 60%, 18% first read target share, included a couple red zone targets, included a deep shot. Like the usage is starting to trickle back, which is great. But the most important thing for me with Godwin was passing the eyeball test. Does he look like Chris Godwin? And I thought last week he did. He was flying around there. And so I like Godwin a lot this week. I like him rest of the season. I'm going to go Chris Godwin here. I would rank them Godwin, then AD Mitchell, and then Reed. And I think eventually Reed could become that guy for you if he takes over the Tucker Kraft intermediate type role. But for right now, I love what I saw from Godwin. We're talking about the wide receiver 2 in fantasy points per game last year. Starting to look like that guy again. And I know with Igbuka there, those two will nibble each other's cheese. He cannot possibly get to that type of level again, but he looked like Godwin. And that's what I really wanted to see. And I think, now 3 weeks since returning, maybe we get that route share into the 75, 80% range. And suddenly you're talking about that high-end wide receiver 2 rest of the year. So I'm really into Godwin, and I think he's the one I would go with here, Austin. Thank you so much, Levi C. What's going on, Jeff and Levi? Really appreciate you tuning in, and thank you so much for the super chat. Needs to start 2 of Fannin, Waller, Gadsden. You have that 40-plus yard bonus. I think it's 5 points, if I'm not mistaken. Algier or Monungai, and then sit one of these. All right, so let's sift through all these for you, Levi. Thank you again so much, constantly supporting your boy throughout this year. In terms of Monungai versus Algier, I'll just tackle that first. It's definitely Monungai for me. A touchdown in 4 straight. Yes, these guys have a similar-ish roles in that they're goal line hammers in offenses. I like the Bears offense way more. And Monungai, you have far more upside to just 20 carries because he's got the hot hand. Let it rip. So 4 straight games with a touchdown, plus that type of upside for Monungai. I'm rolling him definitely over Algier. No doubt about it. And then in terms of your tight end question, I mean, let's tackle that sit one of these 4. Dobbs, Burden, Addison, BTJ. Burden's kind of my favorite. I wish you only had to start one of these guys because I don't really love any of them other than Burden. Big fan of him. No Ruma Dunze today. We were just about to cover and talk about. So I do like Luther Burden the most of this list. You have a great matchup for Addison, but I just don't know that I can trust anything attached to J.J. McCarthy till I see it. Thomas, you got the bad weather going on there. So, Levi, I had to look at my ranks. I'm like, how do I actually feel about these? Like, when I was looking at the data, it was shorting them out. I have BTJ 37, Romeo Dobbs 38, Jordan Addison 39, Burden up at 34. So, Addison's the one finding the bench. It's a great matchup against Washington. Maybe McCarthy finds him deep. But I don't think he's had a single, solid game. The 40-point bonus does favor Addison, though. So, I don't want to just look at my rankings because you do have to factor that in. And that's one of Addison's strength is those deep catches. But you could get a goose egg. He had 0 against Green Bay with McCarthy, 10, 7, 8, 12, 20. I'd probably lean into that 40-point bonus and play Addison. And BTJ also offers a lot of that 40-point upside. To me, Dobbs is like the lowest, most boring pick. I mean, the Bears are definitely a solid matchup here. But they're solid in beating them deep. But Dobbs just feels like the safest too because he's like a decent touchdown bet as well. But he last few games have been pretty sketchy. So with those bonuses in mind, I'm going to go BTJ, Addison, Burden, bench Dobbs. That's how I would play that. Sorry if Dobbs ends up putting up that 3 touchdown day. He is automatic at the red zone when you get in close there. But I'm going to go BTJ, Addison, and then Burden. Is how I would play those 3, and I would be benching Dobbs and just hoping to get a couple of those big balls. I guess if it comes down to Addison or Dobbs, though, for me, Levi. So if you're like, I really like Dobbs, he's steady for me, I play him all the time. Sure, you could justify it, but that's that. I like that 40+. Go for that. If you get one of those from Addison, boom, you're at 10 points because you got the catch point, 40 yard, boom. In terms of the tight end. Maybe I'm locked into how good he looked for a while. I want to say it's Gadsden. Philly's very tough against tight ends, though, and he's been very mediocre for a decent stretch. 4, 6, and 4 in PPR these last few weeks. I got to bump Gadsden down. He doesn't deserve a top 10 spot. Much as I like the talent and the role, you got a banged up Herbert. I impacted all his receivers. I should impact his tight end as well. For me, it's Waller. We just talked about how they give up the second most touchdowns to the position. They're tied with a bunch of teams, but second most touchdowns surrendered in the league right now are the Jets. Waller's a touchdown machine. He could offer a little bit of that big play upside as well, more so than your typical tight end. Fannin, I mean, I think I'm a little lower on ECR than Fannin, and I don't really have necessarily a specific reason for it. Titans are a bottom 8 matchup for the position, and it's just one of those things where it's like as soon as you trust Fannin, then the Njoku gets going. Maybe I'm off because I am -7 ECR, so I must be missing something about Fannin. 8, 5, 8, and 11 in full PPR since the bye week. Yeah, it's like fine. But you're tied to Shador, and they're just gonna, if they can run that ball 40 times today, they will, and I think they can against the Titans. So that's kind of where my pessimism on Fannin comes in, is just how much they could bleed the clock all day with the run game. So I'm going to go Waller, I'm going to go Manungai, and then out of those to sit, I would sit Dobbs to lean into the 40 a little bit more. Hollywood French Bulls, thank you so much. You guys are so kind and generous. I will say this, guys, it's already 9:30. I was 10 minutes late to start today. So in about 10 minutes, I'm going to wrap up the super chats, and then I'm just going to go rapid fire mode on all of your questions from there and try to get through as many as I can. I'll admit I probably will not get through this whole mailbag by the time 10:15 or so. I'm going to penalize myself. So I'm going to go to 10:15 today because of that late start. And ultimately, though, I already see the size of this mailbag. And because, again, so many super chats, you guys have been so kind and generous. 30 of them on the day. You guys are amazing. It is going to make it, though, so that I have to just start like rapid firing as fast as I can when I get there. So if you want a guaranteed answer, the best way to do it would be a super chat. Thank you guys for being so kind and generous today with those. And, of course, that free way to help your boy out is that thumbs up button. So I am going to get to that mailbag, going to get to the rapid fire mode. But if you want a guaranteed answer, I can tell I probably will not make it through everything. So that super chat is the way to do it. Running back 2-slot PPR league, Kenneth Walker III, Charbonnet, or Travis Etienne. I'd go with Etienne. You got the PPR bonus if he ends up getting a couple dink and dunks in a wet game. The other two are just constantly nibbling each other's cheese. It would certainly be Walker if you wanted to lean into that situation. And, I mean, I do like Walker. You're actually getting Atlanta and Walker. I just want to pull up the exact utilization metrics because I know he's been above 60% of the snaps in a few straight weeks. But if that's something we can bank on, and then you get Atlanta, a top 10 matchup, I actually pivot this answer. I was going to say Etienne's the safest because you're not dealing with that committee, but then you got, the Vulture and Bashal Tootin going on right now as well. So Walker these last few weeks, so 64, 53% of the snaps, 61, 41% of the rush attempts. That would dip back down. So Charbonnet, how many did he get last week? 44%. Yeah, it is up or down, huh? But this is a run defense. You got Walker with 20, 13, and 10 in his last 3. I think I just lean into that Atlanta matchup and hope he rips off a couple huge plays today. Hello, XRP. Thank you so much for your generous $5 super chat, sir. Godwin, Myers, Neal, non-PPR flex spot. So we're prioritizing touchdowns because we're not getting those reception points. I got to go with Godwin. I 2 end zone targets last week on just 60% of the routes, had a deep shot as well. And I just thought he looks like Chris Godwin again. So I don't want to deal with that wetness in the Indy and the Jags game if I don't have to. Neal, you're getting 80% of the snaps and 79% route share. I love both those. But non-PPR, those dink and dunks don't really help you out much. And touchdown threat, you got Taysom Hill's vulturing. So I don't love that. So I'm going to go Godwin there as my favorite option. Hello, XRP. Brooklyn, thank you so much. I know you've super chatted me throughout this year. You're very kind and generous. All righty. Aaron Jones, Hunter. Neal, it's definitely Aaron Jones for me. Great matchup against Washington. This is the type of defense that you just see him rip off those big plays. He's fully off the injury report. I'm +4 ECR on him still. Washington is just such a good spot. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones for sure, not deal with the Pacheco and Hunt situation, not deal with the New Orleans offense. Give me Aaron Jones. Again, Neal, in a full PPR, this does make him a little more intriguing. because of all that, the route share being high, the snap share being high. Tampa Bay, though, the only running backs that have really beaten Tampa Bay are the ones with huge big play juice, shaking free, and that's not Neal's game. He's got a decent floor. He does, because you're going to get volume, but it's just uninspiring volume. So give me Aaron Jones there, much higher ceiling, similar floor. In terms of the tight end situation, don't love anything about this, Brooklyn. I would toss out there, is Isaiah Likely available? Because he's coming off like a massive game, 95 yards, looked so good, looked finally fully healthy. I like him probably more than either of these guys, but if I had to go to one, Barner has been a solid touchdown threat throughout this year. I mean, Ingram, we did just see a recent spike in terms of the overall usage as well. 9 targets last week, very impressive. So I guess I would probably, if it had to be one of these two, go Ingram and hope that usage trend wasn't just like Washington sucks. It seems like he's like going to get you 5 to 6 targets any week. Barner the better bet to the touchdown. And in a full PPR, I probably would chase the volume more. But again, I'm guessing Waller, Loveland, Ertz, some of these guys are long gone at this point. So I would go of these two, I'd go Ingram for this week and for the rest of the season there. So give me Aaron Jones and give me Evan Ingram there. And then we got Omario's asking for a defense this week between Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and Washington. I think I'm going to go with the Tennessee. I just think Shador is trash. The Titans' defense isn't really that bad. It's just a matter of their offense can't keep the opponents off there, and eventually the teams just score points because of the time of possession being out there. But in good matchups, we've seen the Titans pop for 20 and 15 and double digits a couple times. The rest of these defenses are pretty trash. The Commanders are tempting because J.J. McCarthy, it's the most points allowed. But we're talking about a defense that 5, -1, 6, -2, -2, 4, and 3. And yes, they face Chicago, Dallas, Kansas City, Seattle. So I guess I shouldn't bet on them too much. Against the Chargers, they had 13. The Raiders, they had 11. So the Commanders can get after it. But, they're tempting against McCarthy. And I think the ECR would tell you go Commanders here. I'm going to go Tennessee, though. I'm not considering Pittsburgh. Baltimore, as bad as Lamar's been, they can still run the ball right down the Steelers' throat. And the Steelers' defense on the road has been much different than at home. And I just, no, thanks. I'm good there. So give me Tennessee against Shador is how I would play that one, Omario's. Austin First or Godwin in. Do I still start Igbuka over Mitchell? Oof. I would start Igbuka over Godwin, and then I might go Mitchell over Godwin at that point. I don't think Godwin's officially taken over Igbuka. Yeah, it could be trending that way, Austin. But I might go spread my bets a little bit here and go Igbuka Mitchell is how I would probably play that one. As much as I've been hyping up Godwin, I still have Igbuka just a little bit higher for now until I see Godwin take on a full route share. Once Godwin has that full route share, those two could easily flip. And it might be as early as this week. So maybe you're right there, but I'd balance that bet out. And me personally, I'd go Igbuka Mitchell, but that's very tough. Clipster Carm. Should I drop Reed for Godwin, Debo, or Knight for flex? I'd go Debo for the flex. Very tough matchup for receivers, but I'd still go him. I wish you could have Godwin and Reed, but if it's one or the other, I'd rather have Godwin. So yes, I would drop Reed for Godwin. I wish you could, again, keep both. I might drop Bam Knight for Reed if it's like a flex question. If you're playing Debo anyways, you're not starting Knight. Benson might get activated. DeMarcado comes back, whatever it might be. That backfield just so. And I know Knight's made the most of his volume. He's been okay, but I just still don't love that. So do you drop Knight for Reed? Maybe. I'd rather have Godwin either way though. So get me Godwin on that team. If that means dropping Reed, it means dropping Reed. And if not, if it needs to be Knight, drop Knight. John Mack, 666. Half PPR, Devonta Smith, Jaden Reed, C-Rod, or A.D. Mitchell. Ooh, good one, John. A lot of intriguing options here today. I would probably go my rankings would likely say Devonta Smith, but part of me is like, do you really want to play Devonta Smith? Let me just check. I just feel like 11 and 8 targets these last couple of weeks is no joke. And he had that 1 point dud against Detroit, which I still can't fathom, but 29, 11, 15, 1, 12, and 7. He's been relatively consistent, Devonta Smith. And again, Saquon not getting things going. Chargers are the hardest matchup for receivers, but I just if I felt safer about Adonai Mitchell, I think I'd say play him. But again, these guys always gotten open and he struggles with drops and suddenly he disappears on you. Could absolutely be a 1 week wonder. Could be that playoff guy you need and he goes crazy down the stretch. But I'm in the camp that if I can see it for 2 weeks from him, I'd like to. I think that's pretty fair too, given the consistent inconsistencies throughout his career. So I'm going to go with Devonta Smith on this one. And I will admit C-Rod too, starting running back, that intrigues me. He's a bulldozer. I love his running style. No frills attached, just I'm going to go get what's blocked. I'm going to steamroll. And Minnesota is definitely a run funnel defense. You got 13, 8, 9, 10 for him in the last few. But it still was on I feel like the peripherals there, the usage numbers aren't insane. Hold on. Let me pull up the Commanders because I feel like it still was only on 40-ish% of the carries. It's can that really sustain? Maybe, but probably not. Rodriguez, let's see. 44% of the snaps, 38% of the carries, 35% of the routes. It feels like a pumpkin waiting to happen. 35, 35, 45, and 44% of the snaps. Still hasn't had a game over 50% of the snaps. I'm going to stick with Devonta Smith. He's your best talent. And when it's a close decision like this, just lean into the best talent is what I would play, John. Tough call, though. Very tough call. If I had to rank them, I would go Devonta, AD, C-Rod, then Jaden Reed is how I would rank those. And I think Reed maybe eventually takes this over for you, for sure. Castro Raider, I think it's a third, fourth to Super Chat. Very kind of you. Very, very generous. Chiefs or Jags D, drop Hunt for Bam or Rodriguez. I think I would go, especially with that weather. Feels a little sloppy. I'd probably go Jags, but here's what I'll say, Castro, especially if you have a bye week coming up. The Chiefs get Tennessee in week 16, your semifinals for most leagues. That could be a 20-point bonanza. So thinking long-term, these defenses are probably pretty similar today. And if you have a bye and you're going to be playing in week 16, then Chiefs for sure. You just lock them up, keep them for that bye week. I'd probably play them anyways. I'm going to bump up the Colts, though, with that weather. I'm going to bump the Jags up over the Steelers, but I'll just go Chiefs. At home, Arrowhead, CJ Stroud's had a ton of turnovers, tons of sacks. That line is awful. I'll go Chiefs. And then I'd probably keep Hunt in that one. If you need a starter, I'd rather start both those guys this week. I'd rather start Rodriguez for sure. But especially if there's just a bench play, we've seen what Hunt can do. He's the one they trust right now. If something happens to Pacheco, or maybe they just keep handing it over more and more to Hunt, go Chiefs. And I think I keep Hunt over both those guys. Phil, thank you so, so much for this. Greatly, greatly appreciate. I know you've been coming in and super chatting routinely. 2 receivers and 1 flex for you, Phil. DK, Pittman, Worthy, Higgins, Mooney. Alrighty. To me, it's got to be Pittman and DK as the top 2. That I feel pretty good about. I know the rain. I got to bump Pittman down a little bit because of the rain, but he's also that big body. Just chuck it to me. I can do the short stuff for you. I'll get it done type of receiver. So I also don't think I need to downgrade him much. DK, Baltimore, we talked about how some wide receiver ones have had decent enough success. They've definitely stiffened up these last few weeks, but still in play. And so from there, I don't like Worthy. I've never been, just can't, for a speedster, he's horrible at tracking the deep ball, never can get on the same page as Mahomes. So I think I'm going to go with Jaden Higgins for this one, continuing to bump the route share up by the week. Mooney, I don't trust Mooney as far as I can throw the guy. He had that one long touchdown a couple weeks ago, and otherwise he has been a complete and utter disaster this season for Mooney. 1.5, 1.7, 3.4, 13.4, 2.5. I mean, I'm not risking that floor. No way. I got to keep bumping him down. I don't want anything to do with Mooney. See you later, Mooney. So yeah, I would probably go DK, Pittman, And then I'll go Higgins for this, but I'll toss out there, is Burden out there? I'd rather have Luther Burden for sure. Think he could really light it up with no Roma Dunze today is where I would lean. SB Hutch, thank you so much. Chicken parm or cheesesteak? The important questions here. And I'm a cheesesteak. I love them both. Will not discriminate here, but I love a cheesesteak. I'm a big fan of a chicken finger cheesesteak. Actually, combine these two. Super sub over in Beverly. Best cheesesteaks around. I do the chicken finger cheesesteak, and it is absolutely amazing. But I appreciate you, SB Hutch. Thank you so much for the super chat. Give me a cheesesteak, extra cheese. And I'll say this. I spent a summer in Philadelphia teaching. It's overrated there. Like they use like thicker meat and the cheese whiz. Give me a nice shredded steak. Like I love it chopped up and melted double American cheese on it. I think Philly's a little overrated with the cheesesteaks. Good stuff, tasty, but I mean, I'll take super sub in Beverly, Massachusetts, baby. But I'm going cheesesteaks slightly over chicken parm there, SB Hutch. Thank you so much for the super chat. Alrighty, guys, 34 super chats. So kind, so generous. We have about a half hour left to continue ripping here, folks. Thank you again so much. With 3,200 of you, maybe I don't think we get to 5K like we have in the past. Maybe we do, but please do consider hitting that thumbs up button. I haven't hit the receiver. I'm going to just go rapid fire news. Adunze out, Luther Burden up, DJ Moore up, Drake London out. I still don't trust Darnell Mooney as far as I can throw him. Tee Higgins is in. He's a top 15 wide receiver for me. Marvin Harrison out. Greg Dortch on injured reserve. Michael Wilson, 33 targets in 2 games without Marvin Harrison. I am absolutely putting him in my top 10 receivers. Love Michael Wilson today. Jaden Reed off of injured reserve will play in week 14. Probably going to be eased in. Tough to trust right off the gun, but again, I have him right there. He's one guy I'm adding to the rankings. And at my just like knee-jerk reaction, Jaden Reed is going to be – hold on, let me see where he comes in. I'm going to bump Dobbs down, too, because of it. I'd rather have Jaden Reed, more exciting. Wide receiver 40 there for Jaden Reed. And then Chris Olave questionable with the back, but seems expected to play. Evans out. Quentin Johnson will be in. Parker Washington questionable, something we're monitoring. And then the only tight end note I have is Dalton Kincaid is questionable. That is a very important one because they are facing the Bengals, who give up the most points by a mile to the position. All righty, we're going to get new rapid fire in just a second, but Senor Rojo asking he needs 3. Thank you so much for this. We're up to 36 of the day. Very kind, very generous of you folks. Likely, Fannin, AD Mitchell, Burden, or Bam. We need 3 of these guys. So AD Mitchell and Burden are my favorite 3. I'd probably just go to Bam at that point. Maybe Likely or Fannin, one of them blows up. They're 2 athletic, fun tight ends, but they're also in these like split committee type situations too. So I'll go for the featured back, and Bam maybe gets a little dink and dunk action. He's had double-digit points in 3 straight weeks, Senor Rojo. And I got to go those 2 receivers, AD Mitchell after a 23-point day, Burden in that first game without Roma Dunze. Would love to see what he does. So I'm going AD Mitchell, I'm going Luther Burden, and I'm going Bam Knight for that one. 316 MIA, Burden, AD Mitch, Manungai, pick 1, full PPR. Thanks. I would go Manungai, I think. I'm going to roll with this. I know full PPR narrows the gap. To me, it's going to be Manungai or AD Mitchell. You got the true potential number 1 wide receiver in AD Mitchell, which is tough to pass up on full PPR. But again, as soon as we trust this guy, like I could see the rug getting pulled out, struggled with drops throughout his whole career. I hope he's arrived. He is certainly talented. And he has the makings of like, this is that waiver wire pickup midseason that came out of nowhere and then the fantasy playoffs erupts. Like if he's their number 1 weapon the rest of the year, he's always been a good separator. And he just suddenly can catch the ball and not mess up with Tyrod Taylor throwing him some accurate darts. Like there's a definite path for AD Mitchell to be that guy you need down your stretch runs. Love having him on teams, but I still am in like wait and see mode if I can be. And I think Manungai is a good enough wait and see because he's got a touchdown in 4 straight. Tough matchup against Green Bay, but ultimately, this guy is just bulldozing people right now. I'm a huge Manungai fan. I'm going to go Manungai, then AD, then Burden is how I'd rank them. I love all 3 though. 316 MIA. All very good options. Ignacio, thank you so much for your super chat. Very much appreciated. Trevor Lawrence or Lamar? I think that's where I draw the line. Trevor Lawrence in a rainstorm deluge. I'll just go with Lamar and hope he gets it right. I know how frustrating it's been. I am a Lamar Jackson owner myself. I'm -5 DCR. I'm down on the guy. Quarterback 29, 25, and 27. He's been killing people. Steelers are still a top 10 matchup for the position. it's a humongous, like, divisional. This is almost like the divisions on the line type of game here for the Ravens and Steelers. It's big game feels. So I'm going to go Lamar and just if the weather was different, I might feel differently about Lawrence, but he does have that rushing upside too. I'm going to go Lamar. That's where I draw the line. I have Lawrence a tier below him. You just hope he gets it right. So despite being 5 spots below ECR on Lamar, I'm still going him over Trevor Lawrence is how I'd play that, Ignacio. Need running back 2 and 1 flex between Flowers, Marks, Mechie, Vidal, Vele, and lastly, Gadsden or Waller. I'm going to go Waller over Gadsden. At that point, you're touchdown or bust because Gadsden's really started to see that role diminish. You got a banged-up Herbert. Waller, meanwhile, gets the Jets defense giving up second most touchdowns in the league to the position. They're tied with like 4 other teams, but still a good spot for him. So I'm going to go Waller for the tight end. In terms of a running back 2 and a flex, I would go Marks over Vidal for the running back. With Hampton coming back, as much as Vidal has flashed these last few weeks, he could go to complete 0. I don't think he will. I think they'll split it and ease Hampton in, but there's very real risk there. Whereas Marks, like, again, 16 carries or more in 3 straight games. I'm just going to try that volume in a tough matchup and still hope it rolls. And if I'm starting Lamar, I'd go Zay Flowers and just hope my 2 stack up and catch a touchdown. If not him, I'd go Vele over Mechie for that flex spot. But give me Marks at running back 2. I'd go Flowers again for the flex and stack up him and Lamar. Even if it's a different league, I'd still go Flowers over these guys. But, hey, it feels like I'm done with the Ravens, sick of it, Vele would be the next receiver for me. So final answer would be Flowers, Marks, and Waller for me here, Ignacio. All righty, guys. Whew. That wraps up the 37 Super Chats of the day. It is 9:49. As promised, I'm going to go an extra 10. I was 10 minutes late, so I am going to go over. So I am starting right now, 22-minute timer to go a little extra time here for you guys. Thank you again so much for being here. Let's get the rapid fire queued up. I will, of course, pause for Super Chats, keeping my eyes peeled for those as well. But 22 minutes right before I hit the timer, I just want to say again, thank you so much. 3,400 of you here. Awesome audience. Maybe not the 5K we hit last week, a record setter, but hey, 3,400 is like a top 5 day for us for sure. So I really, really, really appreciate you guys being here. One more time for that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, any likes, shares, retweets. That stuff all so greatly helps us out. So thank you again so much for being here, guys. And of course, these rankings will be live at rotostreetjournal.com, like Wall Street Journal, but Roto in front, rotostreetjournal.com. They're already up there, but help things so greatly. That's why I love doing the show. I love helping you guys, but I also, it helps me through my rankings, what I really truly would do in action. So thank you guys for being here, interacting. I know you guys are probably sick of this. And you're like, just start answering my questions. Zip it, Wolfie. Fine. But check out those rankings because every click also does help us out at the website. Tons of great content there. You guys are the best. Enough promotion. 22 minutes, rapid fire time. Let's get through this mailbag as much as we can. Buffalo Love, need 2 flexes. Waller, Troy Franklin, Sutton, McLaurin. I'm going McLaurin and Sutton there, Buffalo. TV time, need 2. Vele, AD Mitchell, DK, half point. I would be going with AD Mitchell and DK for that one TV time. Giuseppe Russo, happy Sunday. Made playoffs on all 3. Let's go. You are the GOAT, sir. Each and every year, always killing it. Flex, PPR, Burden, Addison, Algier, Tootin, or Gadsden. I'd be going with Burden for that one, good sir. Daniels or Burrow, definitely Burrow for me. Daniel Jones or Jordan Love, give me Jordan Love. Giuseppe Russo. Aaron Jones or AD Mitchell for the flex, give me Aaron Jones. And Pitts or Loveland, I am going to go with Loveland for that one. William G. Massey, hey, Wolf, who do you flex? Manungai. Oh, what's up, Will, by the way? I know you're boys with the truth, if I'm not mistaken. Love it. Hopefully you've been beating him down in that league. Manungai, Devin Neal, Woody Marks, or Luther Burden. I would be going with Manungai very slightly over Luther Burden for this one. Willie G. Massey. Ross H., what's good? Who do I start in my flex spot? Adonai Mitchell, Jaden Higgins, Bam Knight, or Kyle Manungai. I like Manungai. Maybe he's becoming quickly the poster boy of the week. Him versus AD Mitchell, very tough to sift through, but I'm going to keep riding Manungai even in that tough matchup. Been a touchdown machine. Terry McLaurin or Michael Pittman in the Jacksonville Reign. I'm going Pittman very slightly, Ross H., just because the Vikings are also a very brutal spot for Terry, having given up a touchdown in like 4 weeks to receivers. Brent Strange or Jawan. Brent Strange, 10 out of 10 times for me. Ross H., Jordan Love or Jaden Daniels. I go Jaden Daniels. Screw it. Play your guy. Let him rip. Love, Brissett, or Williams for quarterback. I would be going with Jordan Love, Eric Buckman. I'd be going Aaron Jones over Corum. And for the flex, if Kincaid plays, I can't bench a tight end against Cincinnati. Still have no official word on him, but if he's out, I'd go Burden. If he's in, I go Kincaid. Would it be safe to drop Kincaid if he doesn't play and pick up Strange? Yeah, I think it's fine at this point because since he's raw, you're really holding out to him, and he could go bananas. But yeah, I think Strange would be a good option there as well. Do you really need Nix? It's a matter of who your quarterback is as well, but I could see Nix being droppable. You have Kittle. Do you really need a backup tight end? I like Strange if you're blocking an opponent. I look at your bench, and I also think, though, before Kincaid, I would cut Keenan Allen. I would cut Bo Nix if your quarterback's good. I don't think you're going to need either of those guys, and you probably wouldn't regret facing them either. I mean, maybe Bo Nix goes crazy on you. Who knows? Ross H. clinches the top spot in the playoffs. Let's go. I feel like this is the first year I've done really good in my league, so thank you always. Let's go. You appreciate the advice every week. Ross H., I'm glad to help push you over the edge and get you into the playoffs, man. But you give yourself some credit, too. You've been making the decisions. And I'm so glad to have you here, Ross. I know you've been new. I think you're new this year, and it's awesome to see you at every show. So thank you so much for the support all year. My man, Coach Zeke, speaking of supporters, you're always a legend, Coach Zeke. Happy last week of the regular season. You made the playoffs. Coach, it was looking sketcy at the start of the year, and I felt so bad. I knew you bought the guide. I knew you'd been at a ton of the preseason shows. I was like, oh, man, Coach Zeke. But you've plowed through. You've made it to the playoffs. Let's go. Let's make sure we have a run now, baby, because it doesn't matter. It matters to make it. Absolutely, it's the best to get in and be in the dance. Not the best, though. The best is winning that whole thing. So let's go, Coach Zeke. Who would you rather have for your playoffs, Nix or Herbert? This hand thing with Herbert is very sketchy. Probably Nix. I have Maye, but would like a backup. I don't know that you need that backup, Coach Zeke. I would rather stash Samaje Perine and see if something happens to Chase Brown or Ray Davis or some of these handcuffs, Tootin. I don't know. I'd rather have a defense to get ahead on, Coach Zeke. I know we were talking about that in the DMs. I don't know. If it had to be one, it'd be Nix for me, but I don't know that you need the backup when you had Drake Maye. Reed or Pierce in the rain. I would go Pierce. And I just don't know what Reed snap share. It's probably going to be eased in. They're very cautious over there in Green Bay, Brian Gilly. Thoughts on Trey Benson? I'd wait till Wednesday. If you've waited this long, Ross, wait till Wednesday. But if he is not activated by Wednesday, see you later. We might catch wind of him, but he could definitely be worth dropping. The only reason I'm saying cling just a little longer is Cincinnati in week 17 is just whoever's their starting running back is going to be in a great spot. Coach Zeke Fitness. We got half PPR. I need one running back, one receiver, and a flex between Walker, Egbuka, Harvey Dent. RJ Harvey Dent, love it. BTJ Manungai, 4 straight, as we talked about, 4 straight weeks with the TD. Woody Marks, Burden, or Charbs. Starting Collins, Rice, and Gibbs. Gibbs, let's go. Smacking your opponent right on the cheeks. Love to see that, Coach Zeke. In terms of the running back, my favorite here is RJ Harvey Dent. I would be tossing Walker in the flex over the rest of those options. And for the wide receiver, so we got BTJ, I think is the only wide receiver you list here. Oh, or Egbuka. I'd go Egbuka over BTJ, not trusting BTJ, especially not in a rainstorm. Juan Pena, official 24. Who for my tight end flex spot? Charbonnet, Vele, Jordan Addison, or Quentin Johnston. I'd go Charbonnet, hope for that touchdown there. Tight end is Ertz or Juwan with Kittle on bye. I would go with Ertz. I'd go Ertz, and I'd go Charbonnet for that. Good morning, DJ. Happy Sunday to you, good sir. ETN, Neal, or DK? I'd go with ETN on that one, sir. Jaden Higgins or Luther Burden? I'd go Luther Burden, Ross H. Lastly, Trey Benson been grinding my gears. Absolutely dropped for these playoff defenses like Steelers or Browns, Week 17 championship round. Do I need to send a message to Benson? I think you, and your team. I think you cut him. And I'm a big fan of stashing for defenses. Look for Detroit facing Minnesota in Week 17. Chiefs in Week 16 get the Titans. Just kind of see who's facing the Browns. I think the Steelers against the Browns at home, that's a great one to stash. Absolutely, Coach Zeke. 'Tis the season for defensive stashes. DJ Johnson, full PPR, pick 2. McConkey, Egbuka, Mike Wilson. I'm going to go Mike Wilson and McConkey there with Egbuka's recent struggles. Full PPR, bench one between Judkins, Kyron, and Chase Brown. Oof, brutal, but I guess I got to go Judkins on that one. Campanelli, remember to please not spam your questions, as he says, laying down the enforcer law super chats. The way to cut the line in still would be, though, if you'd like to, Wolfpack, please do, as Campanelli reminds you, like and subscribe, RSJ to 5K in the moon. We'd love to have you guys here for the long haul. So like, subscribe, Hit the heart button on Twitter, like, shares, retweets. Justin Vetter, back to you, sir. PPR, pick 2, Knight, Neal, Burden. I would go with Burden and Neal for that one, Justin Vetter. Connor Shaw, Mahomes or Stafford. Oh, that's a tough one. But with Houston today, I'd go Stafford, Baker, or Burrow. I'm going Burrow. Deep league, PPR, Luther. I'd go Luther and AD Mitchell for that one, Chrono. Pick 2, Harvey, Genty, Swift. I'm going Harvey and Genty. Which tight end, Strange or Jawan? Definitely Strange for me, Chrono. Pick 2, PPR, Sutton, Jefferson, M. Wilson. Definitely M. Wilson, and I guess Jefferson. That Washington matchup. Get it right. Come on, Jefferson. But definitely Mike Wilson. And then finally, Rice or Adams. JSN is my other receiver and started Lamb. Thanks, Wolf. I would go, he's already in good space, but you got to go Rice. Rasheed Rice. Houston is a tough matchup, but I got to go Rasheed Rice. He's always there. Thank you so much. And if you're catching me on Twitter and you haven't hit the subscribe, if you're not a subscriber, would love to have you join the Twitter channel, I should say, as well. We're close in 21,000. Can't believe that. That's insane. 1 GQ Will, Marks, Monungai, or Mason. I would go with Monungai on that one. Josh Downs or Vidal. I'm going to go with Vidal there, 1 GQ Will. Have Warren WH. Nice. Texas Hustler, by the way. What's up, brother? My QBs are Daniels, Brissett, and Herbert. Should I drop Herbert to pick up an extra defense or kicker? Yeah, not a kicker, though, MJ. Definitely a defense. I love stashing defenses, but kickers, no thanks. QBs, you already asked that one. Hey, Hayes, what's up, Jaws? Got her back from Eagles offensive purgatory or Waller and some weather? Give me Waller, including the weather. Touchdown machine. Bank the Caleb points or wait on Herbert on Monday? I'd bank the Caleb points, and I wouldn't worry about Trey Lance. Don't waste the roster spot. Pick up a handcuff instead. Jaws, pick up Keyline, pick up, whoever it might be, Tucker. Don't spam that for me. Texas Hustler, there's the Texas Hustler. Have Warren, need one, Tootin, Vele, Mitchell, or Gainwell. I would go of this list. I would go AD Mitchell. Absolutely need a win in 4th place, or you can refer someone else that would be on waiver. I like AD Mitchell there, Texas Hustler. Let's go. I'd go Sutton. Fellow, you already super chat that one. Defense, Minnesota or Colts. I'd go Colts. Morning, all morning. Good to see you guys. Quincy Davis, 1 running back, 2 receivers, 2 flex. Hunt, Vidal, BTJ Myers, Higgins, Jaden Higgins, AD Mitchell, Quentin Johnson. So you're going Tee Higgins for sure. You're going AD Mitchell for the 2 wide receivers there. I would go Myers as one of the flex. I'd go Hunt for the running back. And that means we need 1 more flex left. So I would go Quentin Johnston. Don't love it. And I would go JD5 for the quarterback, Quincy. Scott Ellis, Monungai, Woody Marks, or Gainwell. I'm going Monungai. Man, a lot of Monungai today. Hopefully he scores. Ara Mia, Mahomes or JD5. I'm going to go with Mahomes, especially in 6-point passing. Chase B, yeah, let's go. Jimbo. Oh, yeah, that's because your other question. Weather looks brutal. Yeah, it is raining pretty good there. PP ran, week 16, Waller versus Bengals or Pitts? Give me Waller all day. Screw Pitts. Happy Sunday to you, Stephen Weber. How are we feeling about Watson with Reed coming back? I think he still lights it up, Spencer. He's really carved out that role. And he's a good blocker, too, so he stays in for nearly 90% of the snaps there. Freddie Rod, need a receiver and a flex. Judkins, Harvey, T, and Sutton. I would go for the flex Harvey over Judkins. I mean, Tennessee's a great matchup, so I'm probably going Judkins. I wish you could get Judkins and Harvey in there, but I'd go T for the wide receiver. So give me T and give me Judkins. I hate benching Harvey, but I think I would today for that one. Happy PR, need 1 receiver, 2 flex. Watson, Igbuka, Michael Wilson, Hampton, Marks, and Neal. Locking in Michael Wilson for the wide receiver. And then for 2 flexes, I would go Christian Watson, and I think I would go Hampton over Igbuka very slightly. Troy Franklin or Jaden Higgins? I would go with Jaden Higgins. I'm not trusting Franklin after Bryant out-snapped him. Could drop Daniel Jones since I picked up Daniels? Yeah, you could. Better D for playoff, Tampa Bay or Pitt? It depends. If you think you can get to week 17 in that Browns, it's Pitt. Otherwise, Tampa Bay has better matchups throughout. Who should I start at the flex? Buka, Pierce, AD Mitchell, Swift, Sutton, or Barkley? Oh, you already did that one, Angel, as a super chat. Just picked up Algier in all my leagues. Yeah, good stash for sure. Handcuff season for sure. Felix, the GOAT. Trevor Lawrence against the Colts or Caleb against the Packers? I would go Caleb against the Packers for that one. I think Angel, again, you super chat that one before. Karen Buckles, Smitty, Pierce, Michael Wilson, or AD Mitchell? I would go with Michael Wilson, no doubt about it for me. Crow, morning, pick one flex. Godwin, Hampton, Adonai Mitchell, Aaron Jones. I would go Godwin and then Hampton. And no, Aaron Jones, I just saw his morning options. I go Aaron Jones. Tight end, Parkinson, Gadsden, Loveland. Thank you. I would go Loveland slightly over Gadsden. Thought Pickens got extended, and that's why he's wilding out like he did in Blitzburg. I don't think he did get extended. I think there's talk about it, but I don't think it's official, Forrest. I could be wrong there, though. Sutton, Debo, Neal, or Pierce in the flex for Mr. Lucky. I would go with Debo there. Sutton against the Raiders, actually. I'm pivoting to Sutton there. Ruben, flex Pittman, Pierce, Warren, or T. I would go with Pittman. Pickens went for 8 when I need. Brutal there. Angel. Should I pick up Michael Wilson and drop Jacoby Myers? Yes, absolutely. I would start Wilson. I would start Devontae, and I'd start Christian Watson there. Waller or Strange? I'm going Strange there. Muhammad, half PPR. Start flex Loveland or Johnston. I would go with Johnston. Kenneth Walker, questionable all week. I would not start Charbonnet over him, no. I just dropped Ricky P for Luther Burden. Also picked up Commanders D to play this week because my Pat's D on bye. I've already clinched. All right, there you go, Michael. All right, sounds like you're stashing defenses. I like it all. Bucks defense or Washington? I would go with the Bucks this week. I like Buffalo if you can get to week 16. They got a great matchup. Good playoffs. Do you like the moves in week 16? Would you play the Eagles versus Commanders, Pats versus Ravens, or pick somebody up? I would do Eagles versus Commanders. But again, look for the Chiefs. I think they face Tennessee. There's a few out there for you. We have a playoff article, Michael Hart. My man Keegs, the defensive specialist. Check out rotostreetjournal.com. He talks about all those week 16 and 17 matchups to be targeting. Fatty Mateo, are we at the point where we can bench Saquon for Harvey? Yes, we are at that point. I have Harvey above him in the ranks. RTK, Mahomes versus scary Texans or Daniels? I would go Mahomes because both are scary defenses. And Mahomes just been safer all year. Devin Neal, Bam Knight, or Devaughn Vele, half PPR. I would go with Devaughn Vele for that one, RTK. Tunes needs 2 flex and tight end full PPR. If I win, I get the bye, but in playoffs, no matter what, let's go. For the tight end, I would go Gadsden. For the 2 flex, I would go Sutton and Charbonnet. What I would do, Tunes. No MHJ, no Dort, and the wide receiver 4 questionable, so they signed practice squad. Yeah, McBride and Wilson is definitely a must-start. I agree there, Michael. DJ defense, Miami, Kansas City, or Baltimore? I would go, Tunes, Kansas City, especially if you can get that week 16 matchup. Herbert or Baker? I'm definitely going Baker there, Vault Boy Zealous. Coach Zeke, Chris Rodriguez, or Monungai? I'm going Monungai there, Coach Zeke. Tunes, sit one of A.J. Brown, Higgins, Watson, or Jefferson? I'm sitting Jefferson. Come on now. J.J. McCarthy is absolute trash. Crazy question, but I need to win to make playoffs, and Pickens went for 8. So, and Boswell has been selling. I get it, Angel. Boswell, though, number 1 matchup for kickers. I'm letting him rip. Stafford or Herbert? I'm going Stafford for sure. Nuke. Mob and Gadsden or Schultz? I'm going to go with Gadsden, I think. I don't know. Schultz has been kind of balling. I think I need to adjust him in the rankings because Gadsden's been very inconsistent, whereas Schultz has been pretty steady. I would go, I'm bumping Schultz up. Hold on. Schultz over Gadsden. All righty. Andrews or Gadsden? I would go with Mark Andrews. Pittsburgh, a top 3 matchup, and he just got that big extension. Love or Stafford? I'm going Stafford, Tunes. Flex PPR, Myers or Mason? I would go with Myers there, GTAR. Full PPR, Schultz or Fannin? I'm going to go with Schultz. Like, share, and subscribe. Best in the business, indeed. With 6 minutes left, please do. If you haven't already, 4,000 of you here live. Heart button on Twitter. Thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the follow button on Twitter or X. Would greatly appreciate your support if you enjoy what you're hearing. Rick, MTL, Buff, pick 2 wide receivers. Emeka, JJ, or Wilson? I'm definitely going Wilson, and I would go to Emeka over Jefferson. Good morning. Neal, Godwin, Myers, non-PPR flex. Who do I play? Godwin. For hello, XRP. Kiddo, Ken, Lamar, Love, or Mayfield? I would be going with Jordan Love for this one. What else do we have here? Start Chris Olave or Troy Franklin. It's 100% Chris Olave for that one. Wish I had given Monungai a closer look in Dino rookies. Thought Roshan, he is, I love Monungai. I loved him entering the year too. I don't know why I don't have more of him. I should, and I don't. I'm bumping down Baker, by the way, below Jordan Love because I know I just said that one. I think Love's in a great spot against Chicago today. Good morning. Full PPR. Jawan Johnson or Mason Taylor today. Also, Washington D versus McCarthy. I would go Jawan Johnson, and I would go Washington D there. Yes. Dustin Stone, Morning Sutton or Watson. I'd go Watson there, Dustin Stone. Don't forget to hit that like button. I appreciate that blunt brush. Baker or Brissett? I'd go Baker on that one. Good sir. Blake Corum or Pirine or Gainwell? I'd go Corum, and then you have that handcuff with benefits upside. Corey Reddington. Need running back. Have Jay Taylor picking one of K Hunt, Chris Rodriguez, Bam Knight. I go Chris Rodriguez for the start there. Need 3 flex PPR. Likely Fannin, Burden, 80, Mitchell. Oh, you super chat that one, Senor Rojo. Thank you again. First time here. Awesome show. Thank you so much, Brad Scott. Live every Sunday, 8 a.m. Would love you to subscribe and join us. Appreciate you sharing your kind words, sir. The Naganist. Hey, Wolf. So when I'm in. Need sage advice. Quarterback. Mahomes, Hurts, or Daniels. I'd go Jalen Hurts against the Chargers for that one. Should I drop Reed for Godwin? Oh, we talked about in the super chat. I'd rather have Godwin, yes. Tien Win, sit 1. J.J. Sutton, Higgins, Michael Wilson, or Devin Neal. I'd sit Devin Neal of that. Schefter just said it looks like Benson won't play. See you later, Coach Zeke. Send him off and packing. What a bomb, but get rid of him for now. Wolf, thanks for all the help this year. I'm winning in. Quarterbacks hurt. Mahomes or Daniels. I'd go Mahomes. Running backs, Chase Brown, Judkins, great. Nico's Jefferson or Michael Wilson and Rice. I would start Michael Wilson, Nico, and Rice for sure there and bench Jefferson. Wolf clinched both of my leagues fighting for a bye. Let's go. I'm the favorite. Full PPR, Fatty Mateo. Hell yeah. Let's go, though. Love to hear that. McLaurin, Christian Watson, Franklin. I'm going McLaurin and Christian Watson. Franklin playing behind Pat Bryant? No, thank you. Forgot RJ Harvey, the Naganis. Oh, yeah, big fan of Harvey. So I forget who the other options are in Naganis, but I'm probably playing Harvey there. Thank you so much. Hail to the Wolfpack. Good luck, everyone. Love it. Good morning. Win, and I get 1 week. Bye. Let's go. Got to get that bye. Need 3 full PPR. Sutton, Pittman, Debo, Shakir, Knight, Hampton, Neal, Mitchell. I would go Pittman, Sutton, and I think Debo slightly over Mitchell. Oh, you have Hampton in that question, though. So give me Pittman, Sutton, and Hampton. That's how I would play that. Master. Willard Nillard. Scotty Willard over there? Aaron Jones or Jaden Reed, dude. I'm freaking the F out. Rank 3 to 8 are all 7-6, and there are 2 7-6 head-to-head games, so everybody who's 7-6 is winning in. I'd go Aaron Jones over Jaden Reed. No clue what that role will be like for Reed. They're typically cautious, the Packers, with their injured guys. And Jones is facing the Commanders. Feel good about it. I know the targets were there, Jay Main, but where's the production? What's happening? I don't know. Superflex, need 1. Shador, Kirk, or Tua. I would go Tua. I think he's got a good playoff schedule, too. Knight is on a different league. Okay. Milk steak or sloppy steaks for me? Yeah, I got to get those steaks in, baby. Guys, do I play TJ Moore or Hampton at flex? I would go Hampton. Yeah, I'd go Hampton. I know he hasn't played in a while, but he's going to play. Moore, but you know what, Moore? I keep going back and forth. TJ Moore with no, what's his name? Rome. Could be good. Vele, C-Rod, or Burden? I'm going to go with Burden for that one, Kushump. Eagles run D is bad. Yeah, 8th most points allowed and 26th ranked run D. Now no Jalen Carter. It's bad. Wolf says Philly's overrated. Probably went to the tour spots. I went to Steve's, Vatty. I spent my whole summer there, and Steve's was awesome. That was actually my favorite one. I did do the Geno's and Pat's thing too, but Steve's was my favorite. Still think it's overrated. Come up to Massachusetts. I'll show you a better cheesesteak. Promise. At the Colosche factory right now. Hey, Hollywood Bulldog. Let's go. I don't even know what the Colosche factory is, but sounds fun. Colosche factory is, I'll look it up later. Tempted to start Burden, but the weather in Chicago wants to run the ball. Yeah, I'd be very tempted to play him, and I would play him. Just depends who your other options are, Frank B. Full PPR. Need 2 running backs and 1 flex. 2-minute warning, folks. Super chat would get you a guaranteed answer. Need 2 running backs and 1 flex. Aaron Joe, Judkins, Bam, Neal, Godwin, or Worthy. I would definitely go Jones and Judkins as the 2 running backs, and then Godwin is my flex for that one. Really mass cheesesteak, better than credibility gone. I'm telling you, they are not that good. You guys are overrated in Philly. Not every Massachusetts cheesesteak, but there are a few spots that absolutely crush it. If I had a better running back on waiver, I would bench Barkley. I mean, it's scary, but I would keep playing him. Christian Watson or AD Mitchell. I'm going Christian Watson for sure. Liam Riley, Devin Neal, or Kenneth Walker. Good sir. I'd go Kenneth Walker there for the flex. Need rise here and flex PPR. Vele, Franklin, Burden, Strange, Chris Rod, Manungai, Marks, Charb, Vidal, Chris. I would go Manungai, and I would go Strange. I honestly love him. Burrow or Brissett. I would go with Burrow for sure. Sit 1 between Michael Wilson, Jefferson, D. Adams, and Watson. I'd go sitting Jefferson there. Hampton or Judkins. I would go Judkins. Start Devonta Smith, Manungai, or Strange. I'm going Manungai there. Hollywood French B. I'd go Loveland for the tight end. I would go Loveland there. Vidal or Myers? I would go with Myers there, Huddy Joe. Put Loveland over Waller at tight end with a Dunze out? I'd rather have Waller, but it's very justifiable, Liam. Very close. Half PPR flex spot. Who should I start, Myers or Vidal? I'd go Myers, Huddy Joe. Stop repeating it. Y'all have way too much faith in Jaden Reed. AD Mitchell, ETN, Troy Franklin, BTJ. Go AD Mitchell. Y'all have way too much faith in Jaden. Maybe, but I still think the guy's so explosive, doesn't need a ton of work to get there. Jackson or Williams? I would go with Jackson, and Jones over Warren very, very slightly here. Rick, that is the last question we're going to have time for. Folks, thank you so much, Wolfpack. Over 4,100 of you here. You guys are the best. One last reminder to please hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed what you heard on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, likes, the shares, the retweets. It all helps us grow so much. And, of course, go check out rotostreetjournal.com, where we breed and feed you fantasy wolves. For these rankings, they'll be live and updated. If I missed your question, you can hopefully find the answer up there. But I went an extra 15 minutes today. I normally cut it at 8 to 10 a.m. every Sunday morning. So make sure you get on in here early. And, of course, Super Chats will guarantee you an answer as well moving forward. I apologize in advance to the people I was not able to get to. But thank you again so much. Such a great audience. You guys are the best. This has been such a joy this year. Best of luck this week 14. I know it's a huge week. Get into those playoffs. We'll see you for the playoff kickoff next week, week 15, baby. We'll have our nice sit start show Sunday, 8 a.m. We'll see you then. rotostreetjournal.com, rankings live. Check them out there. In a world full of fancy sheep, guys, be the wolf. Later.